15,000 signatures from Alabama residents in order to meet the requirements of the Alabama Secretary of State's office. The 15,000 signatures is 3 times the required 5,000 signatures. Those extra signatures were to allow for margin and room for error in the validation process. The required signatures were delivered to the Alabama Secretary of State's office a week before the deadline. Kennedy should be able to get his name on 47 state ballots and potentially win 96% of the total electoral votes available in the presidential election. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Where I was living was not a great place to live anymore. I began to pray for a place to go, praying for all of these things that a 9-year-old would want. I wanted horses, big house with a bunch of people my age. I wanted parents. I wanted a mom and a dad. Before I even prayed it, the Lord had already answered my prayer with the Big Oak Ranch. Who would that 9-year-old be if she never came to the Big Oak Ranch? I would be trying to fight for survival instead of fighting to break a cycle.
Big Oak Ranch, a Christian home for children needing a chance.
A deadline has been set for the end of this week for churches here in Alabama that have ongoing issues with United Methodist Church. Any questions from churches who want to leave the denomination must be submitted by August 23rd, and the questions will then be sent to the United Methodist Church Judicial Court. Harvest Church out of Dothan is one of the churches seeking to disaffiliate from the UMC Alabama Conference. Harvest Church is currently in a lawsuit against the Alabama Conference over property rights in the church facility. That lawsuit is working its way through the regular legal system, not the church judicial court. The identity of a victim of a deadly wreck in Morgan County on Sunday has been released. 7-year-old Ronald Knott of Hansville was part of a crash that involved a dump truck. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
Hi there, I'm Kim Williams with Alabama Home Mortgage. For years, I've been asking you to call me at Alabama Home Mortgage because there is a difference in mortgage companies. Did you know the current national average turn time to close on a mortgage is 48 business days? But not at Alabama Home Mortgage. At Alabama Home Mortgage, our average close time is 16 business days. That's a month faster than the rest. How do we do it? With over 60 years of combined experience in the industry. Our team knows mortgages. Our years of experience yield a better experience for our customers. Folks, time is money. Whether you're looking to buy or refi, don't waste time with another mortgage company, bank, or credit union. We close on time, every time. Give Alabama Home Mortgage a call at 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com to complete an application on your time. Our fast turn time is just one difference that sets us apart from the rest. It's not just a slogan. Call Alabama Home Mortgage because there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586368, Equal Housing Lender.
I'm Wes Allen, Secretary of State. In Alabama, election integrity is a top priority. We must ensure fair, secure, and transparent elections. To vote in Alabama, state law requires voters to present a valid form of photo identification. For a complete list of acceptable identification, or to learn more about acquiring a free photo voter ID, visit alabamavotes.gov.
This message is presented by Alabama Secretary of State Wes Allen.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
What the hell are we doing here?
We are behaving the way a superpower ought to behave.
Well, our behavior has produced some crappy results.
This is how you conduct yourself in a democracy?
Joey Clark.
Welcome into News and Views in the afternoon, or as we're calling this little show online, Joey Clark Live. You can always check it out on YouTube for the time being, Joey Clark Live on YouTube. I highly recommend watching on X at the Joey Clark. A big show today. United States Senator Katie Britt will be in studio at 1:30. Look forward to talking to her. The Attorney General of the great state of Alabama, Steve Marshall, will be calling in at 12:30. And as is tradition now here on Tuesdays, we have the one, the only Judge Andrew Napolitano joining us. Judge, how you doing today?
I am well, Joey. Thank you. Thank you for the kind introduction, as always, my friend.
Well, I find Were you censored by YouTube?
Yes. Yes, we were censored by YouTube. Still in the penalty box until 24 hours from now, till around noon Eastern time tomorrow, because of a statement made by one of my guests in June.
What?
That the Azov battalion, that's a militia loosely affiliated with the Ukraine government that is fighting for Ukraine against Russia, has Nazi origins. This is a truthful and accurate statement, but YouTube's algorithms told them it was hate speech. We appealed, we lost, we appealed again, we lost. It's crazy. So we've been out on X and Rumble and Facebook and a bunch of other places that I have, with which I was unfamiliar prior to this, but we should be back full bore tomorrow. That's the bad news. The good news is my viewers have so reacted to this that they have gone back and re-watched all that we did last week. And this month will be the best month we've ever had, notwithstanding 7 days in the penalty box.
In a way, it's I guess what the Streisand effect. It backfires in an ironic way. So that's great news, knowing that you have that loyal audience. That's crazy to me because I can remember off the top of my head the Anti-Defamation League, the New York Times, running stories on the Nazi origins of the Azov Battalion. Right. And I guess we'll test it here because I'm streaming on YouTube, see if they pick it up as well. But that's it's shocking. It's like we're in a constant present that they're constantly shifting. It's reminding me of 1984, where the party is always right. Don't believe your own eyes or ears.
Right, right. Well, hopefully this won't happen again. I've convinced myself it's not the tip of an iceberg, and it's not animosity towards the views expressed on the program, because we do very well for them. We do very well with them. But the whole thing is done by algorithm. I mean, the decision was made by a computer and the appeal was made to a computer. Then the next round of appeal is to a group of human beings.
Well, we'll see. Any brush with that sort of stuff I've had myself, mostly with Facebook of all places. It's infuriating that you can't just talk to a human being, and these new systems of control being built all around us. And it makes me think it plays into a constant topic of conversation for us. Just to underline the point, we talked yesterday about Scott Ritter being raided by, or talked last week about Scott Ritter being raided by the FBI. Your column from last week did a deep dive in this, especially the background. I know, again, we've talked about this before, but it's good to repeat ourselves here. Let's talk about the wall and the wall of separation that was taken down after 9/11. And I guess I'm asking this because I suspect all these algorithms, it's all playing into, even if it's decentralized, the same system, in my humble opinion.
So after President Nixon's resignation and the various committees that Congress established to investigate what he was doing with the FBI and the CIA, Congress enacted the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. This is 1978 now. Nixon leaves office in 74. Many of us opposed FISA primarily because it lowered the standard for surveillance from probable cause of crime, which is what's in the Constitution, to probable cause of communicating to a foreign agent. Nevertheless, in order to get enough votes to pass, its proponents agreed on the wall. What's the wall? The wall is a wall of separation between intel and law enforcement. So if a FISA warrant is issued and the National Security Agency people hear evidence of a crime, they cannot pass it on to the FBI because the FISA warrant was issued on a standard lesser than what is required for the FBI to engage in surveillance, which is probable cause of crime. George W. Bush and co. persuaded the Congress to get rid of the wall after 9/11 in the Patriot Act. So the wall only exists from 78 to 01. The Patriot Act gets rid of the wall and allows Intel to share information with the FBI. not by statute, but by practice, the FBI begins going to FISA. Stated purpose is national security. Real purpose is prosecution. That's all the FBI does, is gather data with which to prosecute. If it says it's doing something for national security, it really suspects a crime, but it doesn't have enough probable cause to persuade a federal judge to sign a search warrant for a crime. So that's where we are today. This was brought to the fore when Ritter was subjected to 40 FBI agents, a SWAT team, and a bomb squad looking for 3 electronic devices in his home. I mean, they ended up taking a truckload of documents, but during the search, they showed him copies of his emails and text messages for the past 2 years. Where did they get them? Well, they won't say, but they didn't have a search warrant for it. They may have had a FISA warrant, which if they did, it would be unlawful for them to show him, and which if they did is supposed to be based on national security concerns, not criminal concerns. More likely than not, they got this from their cousins in the NSA or CIA who don't use any warrants anymore and just capture 24/7 every keystroke and a piece of fiber optic data communicated into from within to outside and totally within the United States. So the Fourth Amendment really today only exists on paper and in the courtrooms of federal judges who are willing to dig deeply into how the feds got their data. Often the federal prosecutors in the courtroom are intentionally kept in the dark about the true origins of FBI evidence so that they can't be accused of lying to a federal judge. And often the FBI agent in the courtroom is kept in the dark about the true origins of the data, so he or she can't be accused of lying under oath. So the team that acquires the data is many steps removed from the team that uses the data in a prosecution, if you follow me.
Oh, I do. But that very practice is lying itself in a way.
Yes. Yes. That's called parallel construction. So they are constructing another way to claim that they got the data in order to satisfy a federal judge. So it takes really a very aggressive criminal defense lawyer, usually one that is a former federal prosecutor and a very civil liberties oriented judge to get to the bottom of that.
Well, and not only have they done this, the FBI using this information for over 2 decades now, they've lied about it for 2 decades. And I guess, last year in 2023, they essentially admitted, no, we do this all the time.
Right. In 2023, Senator Wyden, who, though he's a liberal Democrat, is really the champion on civil liberties, along with Senator Rand Paul in the Senate, he extracted this 900-page report from the FBI in which they admit to using the NSA and the CIA. Using the CIA is particularly troublesome because the CIA charter, again, in order to get enough people to vote for it in 1947, the CIA charter expressly prohibits it from A, spying on anybody in the U.S., and B, getting involved in domestic law enforcement. Now, of course, they do both.
Man, it's just, I think at this point, this is why I voted for Vivek Ramaswamy. All this stuff needs to just be shut down. And even if we cut into some muscle, so be it.
There is Joey, a generation of federal agents, not just FBI, NSA, CIA, FBI, DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. There's about 16 of them. I can't rattle off all the initials now, but there's a generation of federal agents has come of age post 9/11, being taught spy first, worry about the Fourth Amendment afterwards. And the older folks who were taught to comply with the Fourth Amendment first are either in management or retired.
Yeah, and it's harrowing, and I know you and I know this well, you better than me, but we both are well aware of this. I just wish more Americans would wake up to this, that this is not like the old FBI show they used to show on network TV. This is a very different sort of beast and animal, this intelligence community, including domestic federal law enforcement. Again, folks, we're talking to Judge Andrew Napolitano. You can check out his podcast, Judging Freedom, wherever podcasts are available. I was having to go to Rumble to check out because of the whole YouTube thing. But as the judge said, coming back to YouTube, I was going to ask about a potential ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. And, well, the news broke this morning that's fallen through.
Well, that will never happen because Prime Minister Netanyahu will be out of office the minute he agrees to a ceasefire. We know that because of the threats from cabinet ministers Smotrich and Ben Gvir, who are of the far right group in his cabinet, and they control enough votes in the Knesset to obliterate his majority. Wow. So if Israel agrees to something, they know it is something that Hamas has already rejected.
Well, and that's crazy. You would think it would be more the liberals, the left in Israel, which has a robust group there that would be threatening Netanyahu, but it's people to his right, essentially making him more radical. And I know Israel presents this as a war cabinet, a unity government, but dadgum. So I'm wondering, we keep asking, where does this go in terms of wider war? Because it seems like Iran is going to do something any day now.
Well, Iran has received, I don't know the number. It's easily hundreds of millions of dollars worth of electronic defensive it's not weapons because they don't kill anybody, but they do shoot missiles up. Defensive equipment that will invalidate the Israeli internet and will shoot down Israeli missiles before they hit Iran. Defensive equipment from Russia. That's being set up as we speak. You can't set that up overnight. So I think that's probably what the holdup is. But they're very patient. They will certainly retaliate. Prime Minister Netanyahu is obviously fearful of retaliation. No one has seen him in 2 weeks. He's probably underground somewhere.
Well, and then the other hot spot in the world is the cursed incursion or terrorist attack, however it's being classified. How well is that going for the Ukrainians, or does this make a big difference in the war long term?
Makes a huge difference in the war. This is NATO, led by the United States of America, attacking Russia. So when Secretary Blinken and Secretary Austin say we know nothing about it, they're not being truthful. This could never happen, never have happened without the knowledge, consent, participation, encouragement, and guidance of CIA, MI6, and DOD. The Russians have reported that their surveillance equipment has heard English voices amongst the soldiers. Listen to how these people work. And their linguists in the Russian FSB has identified these voices as having, quote, American accents. So these are American human beings, CIA, contractors, and maybe military in Ukrainian uniforms. That's a war crime. Participating in this invasion. They will all be obliterated because they're treating it the Russians are treating it as a terrorist event, which means no prisoners. Everybody gets killed.
Well, and it's reminding me of stuff in the liberty community and the liberty-minded community, of warning about, say, contractors, and how we're going to have more and more war that's just completely dishonest, where people aren't in uniform. You saw Russia do it with the little green men in 2014, and you're seeing it now being used by NATO. And it's like, okay, so we're going to fight all these wars and under the cover of, all sorts of covert means. Like it seems like we're really playing with fire. The reason we have these clear rules of the road from the Geneva Convention and beyond is to make sure you don't get into the major wars we saw in the 20th century.
So because the United States has invaded Russia and because NATO has invaded Russia, under international law, Russia can retaliate. President Putin will not do it. They are not going to draw him into a wider war than he needs. Meanwhile, the mainstream media is really not covering the extraordinary progress that Russia is making west of where this Kursk is, deep into Ukraine. Ukraine is losing about 2,000 soldiers a day. They're down to their very best people who are now inside of Russia, and conscripts that they've taken out of bars and classrooms and off of streets in the past couple of weeks with minimal training and no enthusiasm for fighting.
Yeah, and I think it's a shame that we're going to see how good is the Russian S-400, S-500 if Iran's now using that. We're going to see how well this new drone warfare and robot warfare, and we got to remember at the end of the day, hundreds of thousands of people are now dead. And we continue, I think, to talk about it too flippantly, not necessarily you and I, but you know what I mean.
Yes. Nice summary you just gave of where this mess is. The Ukrainians, the American government wants Zelensky to go, but he won't go, and the Ukrainians won't surrender until after November 5th.
Well, maybe try it real quick on a lighter note. You watching the Democratic convention at all?
I thought Biden's speech was the best he ever gave.
Really?
I thought he was terrific. I disagree with my colleagues, even from where I used to work, who said he was shouting, he was angry. I thought he was absolutely fabulous and brought tears to people's eyes. I thought it was a speech of historic magnitude.
I've been saying for a while, his son died from the same type of brain cancer as my mother died from. So, of course, I've seen him literally give a eulogy. And I sort of predicted that that's the sort of speech he does well. I predicted months ago he'll probably be given the opportunity to eulogize his own career and pass the torch. And it seems that's exactly what he did last night.
Yeah, nicely put, Joey.
Well, I appreciate your time as always, Judge. Again, folks, check out Judging Freedom. It should be back on YouTube soon, but wherever podcasts are available.
We have Karen Kwiatkowski, who is as angry at YouTube as anybody else is and who wants to express that this afternoon. She's on at 3 o'clock Eastern. But everybody else, McGregor, Ritter, Mearsheimer, Sachs, all my guys will be back on as of lunchtime Wednesday.
Well, I appreciate it as always, Judge. God bless.
Thank you, Joey. Bye-bye.
Again, folks, that's Judge Andrew Napolitano. Always appreciate his time. Again, we should have coming up here soon the Attorney General of the great state of Alabama, Steve Marshall, calling in. Eddie Bader in the studio with me. How you doing today, Eddie?
Pretty good. How you doing, bro?
I'm all right. I mean, I'm surviving. I tried to watch some clips.
Yeah, it's tough, dude.
And, yeah.
It's tough. You know, it was easier watching that Kill Tony. That was a lot easier than trying to watch.
Yeah, I watched Kill Tony. Yeah. No, I'll say anytime you do bring in like family elements, so having his daughter Ashley talk about him, it's like that's the sort of stuff where I'm like, okay, you bring in the human element. Hillary Clinton, oh my God. Oh my God. Like AOC, no.
Shouter.
Like I was trying to watch this morning. I'm just like, I can't.
Didn't have it in me.
Like, man. I don't like watching the Republican convention.
Right. I get it. I mean, I tried again this morning. I just did not have it.
Well, we got a few clips. I'll put it that way. We got a few. Before we hit this part of the program is brought to you by, before we hit this break, this part of the program is brought to you by James Cole and Cole Plumbing. And they're at Cole Plumbing. James and the team are ready to help you with any and all of your plumbing problems. Could be a big deal. Like you see the water bill shoot up and you're like, oh, damn, probably a leak. Whether inside or outside your home, Cole Plumbing has proprietary pipelining technology that allows them with minimal discomfort to you and your home to get in there and solve that problem. That means they're not going to have to tear out a bunch of drywall, dig up a huge hole in your yard. And with precision and expertise, they'll solve the problem. They can, of course, help with everyday plumbing problems from low water pressure to a clogged drain. Maybe you're looking to upgrade to a tankless water heater system, or maybe new accessories in the shower or a brand new toilet. They can do it all there. Anything to do with plumbing, they got your back. So check them out today. You can always go to coleplumbing.com or give them a call at 279-8919. That's 279-8919. And just remember, folks, when you have trouble with your bowl,
call on Cole, Joey.
We'll be right back.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, But whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. With PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 special. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
Hey folks, thank you for making CTE Outdoor Power a preferred dealer and Hustler one of the most popular riding mowers. Recently, I met a couple from Evergreen who discovered us because friends recommended both CTE and Hustler. They heard our team of friendly, helpful professionals would guide them to the Hustler model that's the best fit for them, and that because we support all the products we sell, we take the hassle out of future needed parts and service. They liked Hustler because of the highest quality and warranty, and that we partner with Hustler to offer 0% interest financing. Now, if you haven't discovered Hustler and CTE yet, now is the perfect time because this month when you mention this ad, we'll pay the sales tax when you purchase any new riding mower. Folks, can you get all that anywhere else? CTE Outdoor Power, I-85 at Perry Hill Road and CTEOutdoorPower.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-488-2594. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-488-2594. That's 800-488-2594. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
The Health and Wealth Show. The Health and Wealth Show. The show so nice, we said it twice. Weekday evenings at 6 on News Talk 93.1 WACV. The Health.
Break it up, son. Joke's over, hey?
The Rich Thomas Weather Network, brought to you by Montgomery Paint and Body. From a little fender bender to total body repair, MPB will fix it good as new, maybe better. For over 35 years, the Turner family has been getting you back on the road. Call 279-7325.
Rich Thomas Weather. Well, hi, everybody. I don't know if I would call it a fall preview, but it's certainly going to be more bearable and some very comfortable nights ahead. Today's high of 93 is still very warm, but less humid. Clear and comfortably cool tonight. Boy, I love hearing that. Overnight low 65. We'll be in the lower 90s each day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, probably Sunday as well, with sunny days and clear nights, dry through Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Thank you for voting ASC Credit Union the best credit union in the River Region 6 years in a row. As we celebrate our 70th anniversary, we are proud to be at the top of the list for the best credit union in the hearts of the communities we serve.
News and talk without the static. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the Afternoon, or as we're calling this thing online, Joey Clark Live. And as promised, we have here on the phone the Attorney General for the great state of Alabama, one and only Steve Marshall. Steve, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing well, Joey. And by the way, thanks for the fascinating piece about ChatGPT. I thought that was very enlightening. And when we've worked on this question of content suppression among social media outlets and whether or not conservative voices are being suppressed, that's just another example. And so, anyway, I love the fact that you brought that to light.
Hey, it gets worse, by the way. How I was able to ask it about Thomas Matthew Crooks, and then it gave the correct answer of what happened. The very next day, we did it on air. Like, had the ChatGPT bot like it was a guest. It had already been switched. The algorithm had already been weighted to not recognize the Thomas Matthew Crooks inquiry.
Wow. Well, hey, they've been listening to what you've done. I mean, so we came to light for us. We just did an experiment. For example, ask who are the most effective attorneys general across the country, and it listed 10. You want to guess what the Republican representation was on that?
Like zero?
Absolutely zero. What are the most pressing issues that attorneys general face? And it was climate change and the lack of equity in the application of the law across the country. Anyway, I mean, it was clearly, it's out of the Kamala handbook, right? I mean, and so when we talk about kind of how technology has the ability to influence what goes on with the electorate and how we get our information, that's clearly got to be something that we're dealing with. So anyway, thank you for sharing that. I really thought it was helpful.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you appreciating it. Now, one thing you announced, I believe, yesterday, shutting down 5 illegal gaming facilities in Selma. What's the story here?
Yeah, it turns out now it's actually 6 that we obtained search warrants and TROs on yesterday. I mean, this arose from citizen complaints. We've been abundantly clear, gambling's illegal in Alabama. These are slot machines. They're not anything close to games of chance. And not only did we shut down 6 facilities yesterday, I think it's over 200 machines that were in those combined locations. We also did cease and desist letters at about, I think it was 10 to 15 other locations where we saw there may have been 1 or 2 machines and gave them a very short window to have those removed. Joey, won't surprise you that there were a couple of arrests as well, but one of them was a convicted felon who was running one of these operations that illegally possessing a firearm, and so he likewise went to jail as a result of that. And so, look, it's part of what we've been saying for quite some time, even including during this last legislative session. There's not a lot of confusion about what should be legal or illegal, and really appreciate the assistance of Sheriff Mike Grantham over in Dallas County, who was our partner in this, and those facilities are now shut down.
Now, not to tip your hand, but I'd imagine there are other smaller operations all around the state. Would you, and number one, encourage folks to just reach out to your office? And number two, let's remind folks, this can mean prison time.
It can, although, Joey, part of our problem is these are misdemeanor offenses.
Oh, wow.
So now there are others that can arise as a result of it. It's one of the reasons why, when this legislature was talking about gambling during the last session, we said absolutely, let's enhance the consequences of this illegal behavior, because when they're misdemeanors, some people just view that as the cost of doing business based on money that potentially they're making. And so welcome the legislature to be able to come in and equate the significance of the crime with the penalty that's involved, and we would encourage that. But yet, one thing that we've seen in other locations, including, work that we did now, it's probably been 3 or 4 years ago, we were able to demonstrate that in these smaller operations that drug traffickers were using that as a way to launder their money. And so there is a nexus and a connection between gambling and other crimes that people don't necessarily talk about enough. One of the reasons why I've opposed it, and grateful that at least yesterday we were able to get the operations in Selma shut down, and we'll continue to do the work next week in the hearings to be able to show the judge what we learned through our investigations.
And now shifting to another topic, big victory in the Supreme Court, striking down the Biden administration's effort to impose gender identity and other things through Title IX. I know you've been a part of this, so just your reaction to this victory.
Yeah, now it is limited. I think to some extent it's been reported probably more broadly than what the court did. Right now it's a temporary victory is basically what I would call it, in that the court has allowed for the stay of the enforcement of that rule, which was supposed to be effective August 1. And again, folks need to remember what this would have done is to open up the door for men to compete against women in sports. It would have opened the door of women's locker rooms to men who claim to identify as a woman, and strike down what we think is appropriate and common sense policy in Alabama. And so glad to see that victory, but there's still more work to be done. We actually have Alabama's case currently pending before the 11th Circuit, where we were able to get an administrative stay. But, it's one of those issues, Joey, that's actually united all of my colleagues across the country. 26 states have joined in stopping this. But it's also, and I think what gets lost in the discussion, is you've seen organizations like Moms for Liberty, for example, that are likewise plaintiffs in some of these cases. And so as a result of their participation, not only do we have now 26 states like in Alabama where this rule is not in effect, but also if you have a Moms for Liberty chapter, for example, in a blue state, that injunction applies to them as well. And so it's really been kind of a neat addition to the strategy here, is allowing some of our nonprofits who desperately care about the issues that you and I and the majority of your listeners agree with as well, where they've been effective in gaining relief, maybe where Tish James in New York is never going to be able to enforce their thoughts.
Now, before I get to a local issue I really want to discuss, and just say thank you. But before I get to that, it came up, last night trying to watch clips from the Democrats' convention. One speaker saying that Trump will weaponize the Department of Justice.
Yeah.
What's your reaction?
Pot calling the kettle black, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Lord, we have absolutely seen that with this administration. And look, not only weaponized it toward opponents, but also weaponized it against states that disagree with the radical agenda of this presidency. And I'll use the case that we have in Alabama relating to gender-affirming care. I mean, people know that we've been highly successful in exposing the conspiracy that existed between these radical gender ideology groups that want to be able to impose surgeries on kids that believe that they want to change their gender, where we've had Admiral Levine on behalf of the administration advocating medical organizations to be able to change standards of care so they can help them politically push the transgender movement, where we've seen lawyers representing some of these nonprofits with beliefs that don't equate to those of us in Alabama, encouraging medical groups to make changes so that it enhances their legal strategy. And this administration is pushed that. It's why we have the case up at the Supreme Court out of Tennessee that will put directly before the court whether or not states can protect kids from this radical experimentation that's been going on. But it's all because this administration is using the Department of Justice in a way that nobody intends. And the idea that last night they were accusing the Trump administration and partly what the Heritage Foundation has put together is somehow another something completely contrary to the way that the Biden administration is doing it now is absolutely laughable.
And now locally, MAX, I want to talk about MAX, the Montgomery Area Crime Suppression Unit. First, I know you've said this in other forums, but how did this cooperation come about, this suppression unit come about, and what are some of the successes and some of the progress that's been seen with this?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, greatly appreciative to the men and women that have volunteered for this duty, because no doubt we have seen really good progress in Montgomery, in a city that needed that help. I mean, the genesis of this idea came from Hal Taylor and his team at Aaliyah, and to the extent that people in Montgomery don't know it, Aaliyah is doing yeoman's work not only through MAX but in other areas, just simply trying to assist so that Montgomery law enforcement can go out and do things that otherwise they don't have the manpower to be able to do. And so Hal Taylor and his team deserve an awful lot of credit, along with Sheriff Cunningham. I mean, look, Derek is, I think, one of the most phenomenal law enforcement leaders, not only in Alabama, but across this country. And the fact that Sheriff is providing resources, that the County Commission, and particularly with Doug Singleton, supporting this fully, to do work in the city of Montgomery that they're not required to do. And we've been pleased to have our investigators be a part of this law enforcement effort. And so Hal approached the sheriff and I about this idea. We were all on board, and then we engaged the police department in the city of Montgomery to say, we want y'all to participate alongside us, and let's collectively try to make a difference in our community. And I think we have, and we've seen it most recently in the fentanyl that was taken off the streets. It was enough to kill over 5,000 people. You've seen the 200, I think it's almost 270 now, arrest of people without standing warrants. I think they've made multiple new cases on individuals, and also appreciate the local support of Darrell Bailey and being able to see the results of being able to bring people into the courtroom that they can now prosecute, many of which were outstanding warrants on attempted murders, robberies, and even one on capital murder.
And there's even guns being taken off the streets, and I know just basic things too, like more traffic enforcement. It just seems like across the board, this is really working out.
No, and it's interesting, and I think we have begun to see the results of that based on kind of the objective data that we can look at, not only just in the numbers we talked about, but the fewer incidents that are occurring in certain locations. But Joey, maybe the most tangible way that I've noticed the difference is when I get a constituent email that talks about how they feel safer, when I get a phone call from somebody that wants to tell me that, hey, I can go out on my front porch right now and I'm not worried about what may go on, or just simply going in the grocery store and folks giving a word of thanks. I mean, I think sometimes people forget that, look, I live here, Hal lives here, obviously Sheriff is here, and the folks at the PD care about this community. I mean, this is home for me. And we heard from people. This was our chance to be able to respond. But the fact that Aaliyah initiated this is just, I think, an acknowledgement of not only what we saw was the problem and what we were hearing from people were the problem, but the fact that the number of law enforcement officers that you have on the street actively engaging matters. And so it's our ability to supplement what is clearly an issue right now in the city of Montgomery, and that's the number of police officers that we have actively patrolling our streets. But it's nice to know when I go up and see a Montgomery police officer just wherever I may be, and they say, man, it's been nice to have some backup. And boy, that's encouraging to hear.
Well, and I was yelling and screaming about this a few weeks back. This should have been done yesterday, and y'all had been doing it yesterday. So, like,
yeah, sometimes we don't tell you exactly what we're doing, but and I think Aaliyah's going to try to be able to put out an update if they haven't already on kind of what the current numbers are. But this is also a reflection of when law enforcement has the tools and the bodies to do the work. That you can truly make a difference, and I think it is right now. Look, there's plenty of work to be done, and nobody says this is the panacea for all of the issues. But again, grateful for the 4 agencies that are currently involved, and particularly for those who generally are not directly responsible for crime in Montgomery proper. The fact that they've come in to be able to do this work, I think, is a reflection of how we can all be able to help.
Yeah, definitely going in the right direction. Well, I appreciate your time, and love to have you in studio when the time is right to go over all sorts of issues. I'm sure there's plenty of the news to discuss that we could cover.
Absolutely. Joey, thanks.
All right, thank you, sir. Again, folks, that is the Attorney General of the great state of Alabama, Steve Marshall. Really do appreciate his time. And, I mean, what do you think of that, how effective this has been? Because I have noticed we're not seeing as many local stories. We're still seeing a few,
right?
But we're not seeing as many.
Not seeing as many. It's kind of good to know that somebody else is out there, But I especially like hearing the busted Selma.
Yes.
Because again, I know of these places, but
I didn't know. I'm glad he corrected me. I didn't know it was just a misdemeanor. I should have known that.
I didn't know that. Now I see why a lot of people do it with carelessness.
Impunity, yeah.
Yeah, I totally see.
And it doesn't sound like these are the big operations like your Victory Lands or your Green Tracks. So this is like small spots that have a few machines that are probably just ripping people off.
You know it, man. You know.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing where you're like, it's like Vegas Vacation, where he goes with Cousin Eddie to
pick a number.
You want the blue or the yellow? Yeah, pick a number or which hand?
Wrong again.
Guess the hand. Yeah, it's
Exactly.
like this is not a good thing.
But that's good to know. And I knew that's an issue, so I'm glad to see that they're getting some law enforcement involved.
Yeah, and just to see all of government start to work together and to see Hal Taylor and Aaliyah jump on this and see, this is our city too. I appreciate it, and
certainly,
and also I think credit due to the interim chief, Gray Boys, and we'll see where it goes with MPD. Of course, as we talked with Andrew Szymanski yesterday, the raises after a raise, they're trying to get the recruitment numbers up, which raises are a big part of that. So I think that's a good idea, and hopefully we just continue to improve out of this situation. It's not over yet. I'll put it that way. Did you see, though, and I believe I saw it in passing, but 1819 News wrote it up. I was a little confused yesterday. Now, I'm often confused.
Yeah.
But I saw a tweet from the mayor of Montgomery, and it was also on the city's official Facebook account.
Okay.
And it was something about U.S. World News and Reports, something like that. They do these ranking lists.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So on Monday, Montgomery Mayor Stephen Reed boasted on social media platform X about rankings given by the U.S. News and World Report real estate section.
Oh, boy.
However, he deleted his post after erroneously claiming the city was listed on the report as one of the top 10 places to live in America. Because I saw the tweet and I clicked on the link and I'm like, no, it says we're 54th.
That's what I thought, Joe. I knew we were in the 50s.
Top 10 is very different than Greenville's in the top 10. I've been to that city. It's an amazing city. I get why they're in the top 10.
Right.
And I want Montgomery to be in the top 10, but we ain't there yet. We're close. So I was sitting there going, what the heck is this?
Well, I did see that post. I seen it on City Watch and a bunch of other places. And
Reed also stated that U.S. News rated Montgomery the second safest city in the United States.
Again, that's a no.
Did the edible kick in early in the morning or something? Because I want to know what that is. I want to try some of that. How did that happen?
If I came in and told you that, if I said, hey, Joey, guess what? We're number 2. Would you not verify that 10 different ways before you put it out there?
And I get that you're selling the city.
I get that.
You're selling your administration. Fine,
But you're also
I get
selling
that.
your word.
But that's just on the face of it. I'm like, that doesn't.
Well, it took
are
all of
you
what,
high
two
right now,
clicks
man?
for you to go, oh, this is nuts.
Am I high? What's going on here?
Yeah.
So we're number 54, which ain't too bad. No, I don't. I've lived here my whole life.
55.
It ain't bad. But we ain't top 10.
We got potential though, Joey.
We got potential. This part of the program brought to you by Josh and Leslie Ryder there at Dillon Rings. And of course, Dillon Rings is a full service jewelry shop ready to help you across the board with any and all of your jewelry needs.
Yes, they are.
So they have amazing stuff in stock there at Dillon Rings, from everyday jewelry to the high-end stuff, more antique stylings, or it could be you want to go for something that's not even in stock. You want to go with custom design. And
that's the way to do that, man.
Josh Ryder's second to none. That guy is brilliant. He's a bit of a mad scientist if you go back to his lab.
Yeah.
But just all the special things he can do there with chemicals and electronics and stuff, it's really cool. But he's a true artist at the end of the day. If you can dream it, folks, if you can just think it up and talk it out with him, he can make
that, man,
a reality out of it. And they'll do a digital rendering with matching your skin tone. See if you sure that's the ring you want. You sure that's the medallion you want. You sure that's the bracelet you want. Yeah, he can do it all in that regard. But they can also do spa treatments, which is just cleaning. So if you have an older piece of jewelry that you want to have it shimmer and shine like it used to, he can do that for you. They do repairs, including watch repairs. And, he's so good, other jewelers in town go to Josh to get repairs done.
Secret.
They can even do things like pearl stringing. So check them out today. You can always go to DillonRings.com or just search for Dillon Rings on the Book of Faces or Instagram. But I really encourage you to stop by their showroom. That's 119 Brown Springs Road, right here in Montgomery, just off of Atlanta Highway around Taylor Road. And be sure to tell Josh and Leslie that Joey and Eddie, those fellas on the radio, sent you.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson from the Goodson Group with your updated market report. Through 7 months of 2024, over 2,900 homes have sold and closed in the River region. The average price was $260,000, and 60% of these homes sold in 60 days or less. Since mortgage rates have dropped over a point, buyers can save thousands of dollars in payments of what it would have been just 8 weeks ago. The supply of homes has increased, giving buyers more choices than they've had all year. To identify your next home, focus on what's important to you as features that will make the move worthwhile. By getting pre-approved with a local lender, hiring the best home inspector, and most importantly, hiring an experienced buyer agent will make it all go smoothly. For a list of 17 essential buyer agent services and a list of the best lenders and local inspectors, call Bo Goodson from the Goodson Group at 221-2883 or 551-0225.
I like what I like, and I do what I want.
If you'd like the chance to win a new 2024 Ford Bronco, you'll want to visit Wind Creek, Wetumpka. Play and earn entries every day. Then be there Saturday, August 31st, starting at 5 p.m. to see if you drive off in the Bronco or win a share of thousands in cash. Do what you want. Bring home a new Ford Bronco. Visit Wind Creek, Wetumpka to find out how and to find your winning moment.
The River Region's first and only News Talk station on FM. Live, local talk. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. I'm Joey. He's Eddie.
Hey, buddy.
You're wearing your ship schematic.
Sure. I just spent some lawyer time today, so I thought I'd dress up a little bit. Plus, we got an important lady coming in.
Yeah, United States Senator Katie Britt stopping
Very
by the
captivating,
studio.
so I don't want to look like a schlub. Might put on a little clothes.
He's got some blueprints over there.
Yeah.
You're wearing blueprints. Are those like sailboats or submarines? I think it's both.
I think it's sailboats and
those look like submarines.
Either that or a drug run ship. Now that I look at it.
Yeah, who knows? Let's go to the phones and talk to Red Top, who's wrong about everything. Hey, Red Top, what you wrong about today?
Red Top?
See? Wrong. He's just wrong. Let's go to Randall. Hey, Randall, how's it shaking?
Hey, all right, fellas. Yeah, let's get that one. That's an Eddie joke. You know what I mean? So, but let me. I say, I don't know. Y'all heard the other day somebody called in talking to Eddie about how many police were in Wetumpka. I just, and since all this was talk, what's going on, I wanted to say, Prattville has shut their end down, and Millbrook has got where you get off the interstate and the Toll Bridge Road. They sit right there at the church now. But Prattville had one sitting where the car's going into Montgomery before you get to the bridge. And they had two right when you cross the bridge coming back from Montgomery. And man, they wasn't like they was out there shooting radar. They was doing their little what they've been trained to do to look out for the different moves that people make when they high or either got something on them. And I just want to tell you they all three of these cities are hooked together. And I just
especially with all the high-speed chases that we have between the three cities, I'm kind of glad that they've got some offense out there.
And then, one of my sons lives over there on Pike Road area. I've never seen a sheriff over there until this past weekend. I went to see him, and I saw two. You know what I mean? Just patrolling. I mean, one of them was going down the road, and one of them was going through parking lot. And one of them was going through a parking lot where that Waffle House was robbed at. I know when that Waffle House was robbed, or Dollar General was robbed.
Oh, is that right?
And yeah, but that was why, you know, that boy they shot at him. I don't know, but it wasn't a policeman that was doing the shooting.
Yeah, I remember
that. Anyway, I've never seen no cops over there. And the same thing. Well, my other son lives on Coliseum Boulevard. You never, you know what I mean? You never saw them. But now, this past weekend, they was doing some patrolling, baby, and they wasn't just more after traffic stops. They are profiling like they trained to do.
Yep.
I mean, I see that, but I just want to throw that in there so that man, let them know they working hard. Because what made me think about what the proper city is doing was that guest y'all had there one time. He said that it was coming over they was coming from Proper, coming down 31, coming over the Western Bypass, and that's how, you know what I mean, turn around going back. They had that side cut down. So man, I want to say, I don't know. I hope it makes everybody feel better, and I hope that since they got backing, that maybe it won't take as much of a police raid. Since they got this backing, they feel like they're being supported. Yeah. It might not take as much money, and so anyhow, that's just all I had to say on that.
Well, appreciate it, Randall.
Thank you, Randall.
Yes,
see you, brother.
Got to hit our top of the hour break, but first, as part of the program, brought to you by Bo Goodson and the Goodson Group. And they're at the Goodson Group. They're ready to help you whether you're looking to buy or sell in the Montgomery or surrounding areas. Bo has a unique understanding of the River Region real estate market because, well, he's been working here for nearly 50 years at this point. So he's seen it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So not only can they help you with buying and selling, should you want to rent out your property, rent out your home, maybe you got to move and you don't want to sell it. Right. It's a great idea in this market, especially with all the turnover at the Air Force Base. There's always folks looking, to rent here in the area, and the Goodson Group can manage that rental for you for a reasonable fee, make it still a performing asset for you instead of you just holding on to property that's you got to pay for.
Right.
Make it an asset, not a liability. And of course, at the Goodson Group, the crown jewel there is the Bo Goodson Real Estate School. It's one of the most highly acclaimed real estate programs in the state because of Bo's 50 years of experience and because of how many folks have gone through the course and just found great success, whether as more knowledgeable private players in the real estate market or as fully licensed realtors. It's a great way to study up and get ready to take that licensing test. So check out the Goodson Group today. You can always go to thegoodsongroup.com or give them a call at 551-0225. That's 551-0225. Bo Goodson and the Goodson Group, great sponsor of News and Views in the afternoon.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusada, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. The Israeli military recovering the bodies of 6 hostages taken in Hamas' October 7th attack that started the war in Gaza. The operation came as U.S. and Arab mediators try to advance an agreement to halt the fighting and release scores of other terrorist-held captives. Vice President Harris holding a rally in Milwaukee today, while Democrats will convene in Chicago for day 2 of the convention. B&W is recalling more than 70,000 vehicles due to an issue with the water pump's electrical connector that could potentially lead to a fire. The recall includes some X1, X3, and X5 vehicles, as well as other models. On Wall Street, the Dow dropping 66 points, the NASDAQ 76 points in the red. This is SRN News.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group, and I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney, and the truth is I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney or if I look like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare without me being an attorney. And I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call, and you will not talk to an attorney. And I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-838-8822. That's 800-838-8822. 800-838-8822.
Rich Thomas weather brought to you by Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. Truckers, if you are looking for green grass, contact Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. In business since 1959 and still growing. Call today, 855-777-9785.
Rich Thomas weather.
Well, hi, everybody. I don't know if I would call it a fall preview, but it's certainly going to be more bearable and some very comfortable nights ahead. Today's high of 93 is still very warm, but less humid. Clear and comfortably cool tonight. Boy, I love hearing that. Overnight low 65. We'll be in the lower 90s each day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, probably Sunday as well, with sunny days and clear nights, dry through Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Wet Bobo with Capital Tractor. Soon we'll be moving to a brand new location in Montgomery. During our big moving sale, get a great deal on a Kubota with 0% APR up to 84 months with approved credit. Now through September 30th, 2024. See Capital Tractor in Montgomery or go to KubotaUSA.com for more details.
From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, here's today's top stories. A Montgomery County Circuit Court judge has appointed a special fiduciary to audit the $8.2 million Babel Amos Memorial Trust Fund. The review, prompted by litigation from the Amos family, seeks to determine if Regions Financial breached the trust by charging exorbitant fees and misappropriating scholarship funds. Millbrook police recaptured a man who escaped their custody and tried to run away while handcuffed. 25-year-old Rico Knight was arrested for 3 outstanding warrants Sunday, but was able to break free from officers running away from the police department and into a neighborhood. Officers used a taser on Knight, ending the chase. According to a recent study by Smile Hub, Alabama is the most religious state in the nation. The study ranked states on metrics such as a state's religious interest and number of places to worship, religious education, careers, and organizations. Governor Kay Ivey reacted to the study, saying it was a blessing to live in a faith-rich state. From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, I'm Sky Mosley.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
No one wants to wait on service for an overhead door. With 20 years in the industry, you now have access to the best with All Access Overhead Door. All Access Overhead Doors offers prompt professional service at affordable prices on all service and new garage doors for residential and commercial locations. All Access Overhead Door serves the river region and can take care of whatever you need when it comes to your overhead door. Remember, you have access to the best. All Access Overhead Door. Call and schedule an appointment today. 320-2440. And like them on Facebook. They sell the best and service the rest.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the Afternoon. I'm Joey. That fellow over there in the boat schematic shirt is Eddie.
At least you're not bitter about it, Joey.
Bitter party of one. As the famous Jack Campbell would have said. Well, for a second, I don't necessarily want to jump right into the Democratic convention.
Really?
Yeah,
You want to jump into that fest?
No, not really. In fact, I'd rather go this direction. Because there is a clip making the rounds from a podcast. If that's how it's said, a podcast. I think the podcast is called Impact Theory. But the guest on Impact Theory was Nicole Shanahan. And if you don't know that name, she is the running mate of RFK Jr.
Yes.
definitely a liberal, but she doesn't. Again, when I listen to RFK, at least these days, you can find old clips where he's being a real ass. And can't we all in politics?
Right.
They don't sound like they hate people they disagree with. They actually sound like reasonable people just trying to present their point of view. And so Nicole Shanahan made waves with this clip. I've yet to listen to it, only seen the characterizations of it online. So let's listen together.
What my gut tells me right now is that we just have to keep being honest. I got to just keep being honest. I got to keep focusing on what matters the most outside of party lines. I need to focus on a vision that goes beyond November.
Oh, yeah, I've watched this podcast. This guy's really good who hosts this.
And if that means that we stay in, and, you know, there's benefits to staying in. If we get over 5% of the vote, we actually establish ourselves as a party. 71% of Americans want a strong third party with a real shot at winning. There's even public funds available if we get over 5% of the vote. So we could get, I think it's like $13.5 million in public funds to keep the party going.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, you know, that's worth something. That means
Hey, Nicole. I've heard this from libertarians in the Libertarian Party for decades now. You ain't getting 5%. If you do, I'm happy for you. Like, I'm kind of rooting for you, but no.
Rooting for you. You're right. Rooting for you.
Let's keep going here, though.
means that we can position for a real third party election in 2028 where we don't have to go around and spend tens of millions of dollars on ballot access, which means that we can spend all of that time and money campaigning. So, you know, there's two options that we're looking at, and one is staying in, forming that new party, but we run the risk of a Kamala Harris and Walt's presidency because we draw votes from Trump, or we draw somehow more votes from Trump, or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump, and you know, we walk away from that and we explain to our base why we're making this decision. Not easy.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly.
NPR?
No,
Put
that,
me to sleep over
that
here.
guy asks fantastic questions. He's a good dude. He's I think it's Blue is his name, last name. Anyway, he asks great penetrating questions.
I enjoy where she's coming from, and I really appreciate her explanation.
But so that's a choice. We're going to go for the third party, or we're going to drop out and back Trump. It sounds like they definitely don't want Kamala Harris
Right.
and
Worst case
Tim Walz.
scenario, I think.
It sounds like they're just as against this system, this corrupt system, as so many other people. They're are populist, actually.
Enemy of my enemy is a friend of mine.
You could, I bet RFK Jr. could get concessions for Trump, maybe make him a top cabinet person to take on, say, Big Pharma. Oh, I would like that,
You
actually.
and me both.
I would like that a lot. Like, come on, let's make a deal, Donnie.
Donnie is a deal maker.
You know, I heard a story that Glenn Beck shared. He did his first ever Twitter Spaces. You know, Glenn's the guy maybe want to do this. For better or for worse. Thanks, Glenn. And he told this story in the Twitter Spaces I'd never heard before about Trump. Because folks are like, what is Trump's secret? What is this guy? What type of guy is he? And when you talk about art of the deal, he really is crazy. And he means it. So the story goes, he bought the land in Manhattan to build Trump Tower. And they only had clearance for 3 stories. They didn't have the airspace.
Okay.
Tiffany's right across the street owned the airspace. So he's trying to make a deal, Trump is, with Tiffany's to get the airspace, and he had the architect already draw up plans of Trump Tower as you see it today.
Okay.
So you're like, you got the airspace. That's the end of the story. Trump Tower exists, as we all know. But he shows, here's what the tower I want to build. It'll be right across from you. It'll be a huge landmark in the city if I do this right, and I'm going to do it right. And Tiffany's would not sell him the airspace. But Trump Tower exists. What did he do? How did he pull this off? He had his architect draw up another building. And he puts it on the table. He goes, if you don't sell me the airspace, I'm not going to build this beautiful tower that'll be a landmark. I'm going to build this. And he had his architect draw up a building that was the ugliest building ever made by man. It'll be right across the street from you. It'll be a huge eyesore. And he leaves.
Yeah.
And before he even gets back to the office, they said, okay, well, we'll sell you the airspace.
That's right.
It's stuff like that where you go, dadgum, the guy knows how to get to pressure points on people.
Yeah, just like in that meeting where he gave the terrorist a phone. They said, there's a picture of my house.
Yeah.
I mean, that's negotiating 101, not coming hat in hand, coming as a strong negotiator.
Right. And, there's a guy I've known for years, really great guy. He's kind of gone into less public life. A guy named Sean Malone. He's got a great YouTube channel where he analyzes movies. Big libertarian. Used to work for FEE, Foundation for Economic Education. Just a sharp guy, insightful guy. And I say all that because he had a thread, a story out today on Twitter that is exactly what I was thinking this morning as I'm watching clips of the Democratic National Convention. I just want to read this straight up. This is Sean Malone. He says, I realized a long, long time ago that Trump is primarily a BSer. We've been saying this for a while. The whole George Carlin joke, that guy's full of it. Well, at least he's honest about it. Sean goes on. He says, he exaggerates everything and tells stories that puff up his own ego and the egos of most people around him. If you've met a decent number of people, you've assuredly run across many people like Trump over the years. Even when I was in high school, I knew some guys like this. One kid who had immigrated from Moldova used to tell me that Russia had bombs that could blow up half of Africa. The reason I'm not usually super bothered by people like that is that their hyperbole is pretty consistent. And as a result, it's remarkably easy to interpret reality correctly through their framing if you just automatically apply a standard discount to their exaggeration.
Yep.
For example, obviously Russia doesn't have bombs that can blow up half of a large continent. But the Moldovan kid was mostly just homesick and in a new environment, and he wanted to improve his social status by talking up the place he came from. So we just laughed about it and moved on. Now, was the kid lying to me? Sure, I guess. If he was Trump, the media would say absolutely yes, he was lying. But it is a lie. I found it to be particularly disconcerting. No. This is partly because the lie itself was absurd and unbelievable on its face.
Right.
And partly because I understood what he was really saying. Trump is like that for me. Most of the time. He does get some things factually wrong, like recent claims about tariffs. You're not taxing Americans. Yes, you are, Donald.
That's how you look at it.
And sometimes I think he does tell big lies that do matter. But in the overwhelming majority of cases, my observation is that the media claims his opinions, jokes, and general tendency to BS are extremely serious offenses, and in reality, they're just not. In many cases, what I see from the press reminds me of somebody getting outrageously upset that a diner in Podunk, Iowa bills itself as having the greatest coffee in the world.
Right.
We all know that's not a real claim. Hell, claims like that have even been adjudicated in court, and normally they are not even considered false advertising. Greatest radio show on earth right here, folks. Right. But if Trump says he has the best ideas, or the best steaks, or the best comb-over, the media jumps on those claims as if he said he was personally responsible for the moon landing. I'm a better-looking person than Kamala Harris.
That's right.
In reality, it's pretty easy to just discount everything Trump says by about 25% and arrive at something close to the literal truth. You can trust Trump to be Trump, is the way I would put it. Beyond that, Trump really doesn't lie that much about anything important. It's pretty certain that I know who he is and what he thinks, because for the most part, he just tells you directly. Most politicians don't. Most spend their lives posturing and crafting personas that they think will maximize their electoral chances, and you have absolutely no clue what they honestly think about anything. I don't worry about that with Trump, but I definitely do with Harris, and even more so with Walz, especially in light of the last several weeks of radical flip-flops culminating and the DNC just publishing Biden's policy platform with his name still on it a couple dozen times. Of course, this is all a long-winded way to say these kind of lies being told on stage at the DNC to thousands of people are not funny BS or silly hyperbole. They are attempts at genuinely rewriting history and gaslighting people about a horrid reality which is absolutely 100% off of what's being said here. Democrats and the teachers' unions, but I repeat myself, fought reopening schools tooth and nail. Their entire plan for COVID was to completely destroy civil society, and they justified every abuse of power, every totalitarian policy, every disastrous consequence as somehow necessary for the greater good. And now they have the audacity to pretend the literal opposite was true. Meanwhile, the media not only doesn't care, they're actively complicit. My friend Sean writes, I get why people loathe Trump. I really do. But I find this kind of thing to be vastly more concerning and dangerous than most of the stuff I've ever heard him say. Again, that's from Consider It a Neutral Party.
Yeah.
Sean Malone calls it like he sees it. And I think that's absolutely how I felt seeing these things. I'm like, you literally, I'm Kamala Harris and we're not going to have a tax on tips. You literally were the vote that pushed through the IRS bill so you can get
more thousands?
All up in my Venmo.
Right.
All up in my Cash App.
Yep.
So you can get all up in my tips. Get out of my tips.
Yep.
And now you're saying you want to be the person that wants to stop? You're going to stop taxes on
But the thing
tips?
is, you could do it today. You could do it today.
And it's stuff like that that just makes you go, ah!
If she really meant what she said, why wouldn't she go, you know what? I'm going to make these changes today. I'm going to do so good over the next couple of months. You're just going to continue to vote for me. But you know nothing's going to change.
Right. So I get this is politics. I get that often this is just speaking to your own tribe at these conventions.
Yeah.
I honestly find them, the pageantry of it boring at this point. I find it not that interesting. There are occasionally moments that, like the Hulk Hogan thing, made me laugh because I like wrestling. But it's not like, oh, I'm voting for Trump because of, oh, brother, you have to. Like, give me a break.
Instead of watching the whole thing, though, I caught that in a clip.
Right. Right. And it just seems like so much of the pageantry in our country has become these paper-thin reenactments. And it's kind of time for a new deal. But we're stuck with the system we have.
We are.
So we'll see what comes up. Of course, last night was the passing of the torch. And as I predicted months ago, talking about this with Judge Knapp, I predict not months ago, a year or two ago, that Biden will probably have the opportunity at the convention to eulogize himself.
Oh, yeah.
And that's exactly what he did last night.
Do you think that was part of the negotiation, or was that something they said, hey, we're going to let you do this? When they
It kind of like my grandmother would say, I'll let you take out the trash.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, and Pop, I'm sorry, Judge. Pop did yell. Yeah. He's like, the NATO, like Henry Kissinger told me, the Russians haven't been this scared since Napoleon. And part of me is like, hey, Henry, Joe, why did you leave out this other dictator in the middle of the 20th
Who's
century?
that, Joey? Who are you talking about?
Because there was Napoleon. He was a dictator in the 19th century.
Yeah.
By the way, I wish he hadn't invaded Russia and just held Europe. It might be better. And then there's this other one who killed like millions of people, Hitler. Oh, you can't mention that because the Russians' whole MO is about denazifying the Ukraine.
I see.
It's just, so there are moments where I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Politics.
We'll see where it goes next. We'll see what they come up with tonight. And, you know, Harris made an appearance and did a short little speech.
Make sure Joe got off the stage, right?
No, it was more to introduce, you'll hear Joe later in the night. And
You could do that one a little less, you know.
The Kamala impersonation?
Yeah,
but that's
really,
how she sounds.
I know, and it's really working me.
It's working.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even a vocal fry. It's more nasally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wine mom. It's total wine mom.
Yeah. We got a wine mom and we got a funnel cake dad. Kids want some powdered sugar on that elephant here?
You know I do.
Let's go to line one. You're on there. Who's this?
Red Top.
Hey, Red Top.
Hey, that was a long segment that time. Let me pick up my phone here and get up the
So the man is wrong about everything. What are you wrong about today?
Oh man, you know, you keep all that crap up, but saying you're better than me at everything. That ain't a very smart statement.
It's literally true. I'm better at painting. I'm better at music.
Oh, you're better at painting.
Yeah, I'm like everything.
Wow.
I'm better at
Wow.
push-ups.
Better at push-ups.
Yeah, my dad is cooler than yours and can beat up your dad.
You know, damn it, I'm gonna come in the studio and you're gonna get your butt whooped on the damn push-ups, man. I guarantee you. Hey, Joey, let me tell you what. If I was a Democrat, I'd be super pissed off last night because Joe Biden was a different person. And if he had been that person, Kamala would not be the nominee. What the hell is going on?
Right. And they also had to give Biden a big old hug. The best president ever, the historic president. It's like, okay, your policies are tied to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. But still, this person didn't hump over. He was very loose. He looked, again, I've heard these people start talking about how tall this new Biden is. But, you know, there's something fishy about this crap. And if I was a Democrat, I'd be pissed off because the fix is on somewhere for something.
That's my favorite conspiracy, by the way, that there's a body double. It's like, we need more of that in the United States. Like, are we going to get the real Katie Britt here today in the studio, or is it going to be a double?
I don't know.
But let's face what the other possibility is, and it's very true, Joey. Joe Biden got into Hunter's stash. That's why he felt.
That's why he was running late the whole 9 yards. Got to wait for it to kick in just right.
He got into Hunter's stash, and Hunter must have some good damn stuff. That's all I got to say. Roll Tide, go Trump. Thank you.
Thank you, Red Top. This part of the program, in fact, the entire hour, brought to you by Alabama Home Mortgage, and I love hearing that they're busy there at Alabama.
Yes,
Home
they are,
Mortgage.
George.
Because, yeah, when you look at the national headlines, you're probably like, damn, we're in a tight spot in terms of the housing market.
Here lately, mortgage rates have fell a little bit, so people want to take advantage of that for whatever reason.
Right, and you can't just look at the big headlines, the national economy reports. You got to look at your own hearth and home, your own economy, so to speak. And at Alabama Home Mortgage, they can steer you in the right direction. Maybe you're looking to buy a home. You just moved, and you're going to buy. You don't want to rent. Or it could be the time is right.
Right.
With those rates falling a little bit. And they could, it's going in the right direction, hopefully.
Definitely.
We'll see. Or maybe it's time to refinance. You're stuck under mountains of debt, especially credit card debt with those APRs that are just through the roof. So what? You get a mortgage for 7% on a refinance?
Let's say
it's 7. That's a lot better than 24 or 29.
29.9.
Yeah. And you're just stuck paying the interest. You're not even getting into the principal. Right. Alabama Home Mortgage can help you get that off your back. Or maybe you're just looking to rearrange your finances. You want some cash out to go on a big vacation or invest in your kids or reinvest in your property. They can help you with all of those goals there and more at Alabama Home Mortgage. So call them today at 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or you can always visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies, like Kim and Madeline. Prove that to you today. So the Cole Shanahan angle, if they choose the route of dropping out, making a deal with Trump, that could be what maybe puts Trump over the top.
What percentage of their base will follow, though, do you think? I mean,
it depends on how it's done. Like, is it full-throated? Is he going to be in the administration? Like, it's kind of promised?
Promise a job, right?
That might go a long, long way, especially on very specific issues.
Yeah.
That RFK Jr. got quite famous for. I think he could be the guy in that regard.
Sounds like a pretty good move, actually.
And I don't think Trump loses any support from his faithful at all for doing that. Nope. So maybe that'll come to fruition. Who knows? It could be they try to go the third-party route and they screw us all.
They fail again.
Speaking of Trump, here's a little flashback of how consistent this guy has been. He's always been a BSer. He's always been hyperbolic.
Okay.
But we're sharing this clip from years ago. It's been making the rounds on the TikTok of Trump on Larry King.
Oh.
We don't give anything to our farmers. The homeless are all over the streets of the major cities. The sick and the problems. And yet we'll give billions of dollars in defending countries that have 5 times more money than we can ever hope to have. This country shouldn't be raising taxes. We ought to be lowering taxes. If you look at the payments that we're making to NATO, they're totally disproportionate with everybody else's, and it's ridiculous. This country is busted. And it's busted because we're doing things that we shouldn't be doing. If we had business ability in this country, we'd be making lots of profit, so-called surplus. That money could be going to defend our homeless and our poor and our sick and our farmers. And that's where we ought to be spending the money, not giving it to countries that don't give a damn for us to start off with.
Man, that was years ago.
Look at them angry eyebrows he's got.
Yeah.
Some caterpillar eyebrows.
Yeah, you needed a little trim job in that regard.
But I like the passion.
Yeah.
But that's back when people liked him too, Joey.
Right.
Everybody liked
You know,
Donald
I was
Trump
friends
then.
with Maya Angelou and Joy Behar
I've seen
and
the
The
pictures.
View, and
Yeah.
I love Barbara
Wawa,
Walters.
they were close.
Anyway, we got to hit this break. Hopefully, United States Senator Katie Britt here in the studio on the other side.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Hard?
Yeah?
Well, I've been thinking, I'm tired of this house.
What? You want to move?
Yeah, but we'd have to do some updating, to get top dollar.
Updating really does make a lot of sense, especially when you're talking about lighting. That's where Crosby Electric comes in. They'll help you choose a stunning pendant fixture over your bathroom sink, dramatic flush mount lighting over your kitchen island, maybe some LED panels to backlight your countertops. Energy-saving LED lighting has really come down in price. Or how about a new ceiling fan that moves air more efficiently than fans built only 10 years ago? The bottom line, updating your lighting almost always delivers a full return on your investment.
Well, sweetheart, the house looks fabulous.
Yeah.
Guess I'll put out the for sale sign.
Wait.
What?
I don't wanna move.
Find out how to turn your house into the home you'll never want to leave. Visit crosbyelectric.com or call 272-2085.
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with an elk. Hey man, Mr. Elk, I was just wondering, what do elk do to take care of their money? Well, like most smart folks, we call David Erdit. You mean Alabama's most favorite asset preservationist? That's him, man. We call him up at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. I see. Yes, he is our preferred money man. The money man with the money plan. You've been paying attention. Well, could you give us those numbers one more time? 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. And I just want to try to give you a heads up, man. Oh, what's that? I'm not an elk. Not an elk, huh? Well, then, pray tell, what are you? Knights of Columbus. I am not even going to make a comment. Well, the baby liked it.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values.
Rich Thomas Weather, brought to you by Clark Heating, Air, and Plumbing. It's time to get your cooling system ready for the long, hot summer. Call today about the advantages of the Clark Club membership to be sure you're covered. Call 277-2125. Better call Clark. Alabama certification number 09098.
Well, hi, everybody. I don't know if I would call it a fall preview, but it's certainly going to be more bearable and some very comfortable nights ahead. Today's high of 93 is still very warm, but less humid. Clear and comfortably cool tonight. Boy, I love hearing that. Overnight low 65. We'll be in the lower 90s each day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, probably Sunday as well, with sunny days and clear nights, dry through Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
For the lowest prices around on flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies, Budget Floors and More is your new best friend. Luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, floor installation supplies, and more with prices lower than the big box stores. Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey to Publix.
Hey folks, thank you for making CTE Outdoor Power a preferred dealer and Hustler one of the most popular riding mowers. Recently, I met a couple from Evergreen who discovered us because friends recommended both CTE and Hustler. They heard our team of friendly, helpful professionals would guide them to the Hustler model that's the best fit for them, and that because we support all the products we sell, we take the hassle out of future needed parts and service. They like Hustler because of the highest quality and warranty, and that we partner with Hustler to offer 0% interest financing. Now, if you haven't discovered Hustler and CTE yet, now is the perfect time, because this month when you mention this ad, we'll pay the sales tax when you purchase any new riding mower. Folks, can you get all that anywhere else? CTE Outdoor Power, I-85 at Perry Hill Road and CTEOutdoorPower.com.
Sharon at Whitworth Farm Equipment now has a qualified and certified mechanic. Gary Baker can do it all. They're here to keep you in the field. Your tractor should work as hard as you do and keep working. For all parts and service, come see Whitworth Farm Equipment for all tractor parts, implements, and trailers. And now selling pine straw rolls. Go to Whitworth Farm Equipment, 285-9977, or at 7458 Beatsville Highway.
Point. Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
Oh, I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Hey, you're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at metamucil.com.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
Live, local talk. The River Region's most trusted voice for news and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. I'm Joey. Eddie's still here wearing his boat schematic shirt.
Yes, for a good reason.
Yeah, he's looking nice today because right across the desk from us we have the one, the only United States Senator Katie Britt. Katie, how you doing today?
I am doing wonderfully. It's always good to actually get to come in studio and be with the two of you.
Good to see you.
So,
Yeah, because you're doing the statewide, like you're back
right.
home and you're
That's right.
traveling all over the state
all
right now.
over the state. That's exactly right. Yesterday I was in Birmingham and got to visit the NICU.
Oh.
And just see, I mean, they do so many incredible things at UAB. It's a crown jewel, not just for Alabama, but truly the whole Southeast and
Yes.
the nation. But we talked a lot about literacy and how important it is to start reading to your children early, even in just the days after their birth. And so they have an entire program there in the NICU, really equipping the parents, both telling them not only that they need to do it, but it needs to be sustainable,
Right.
and talking about access issues and that type of thing. And so it was eye-opening and incredible to see yesterday. So did a good bit of that and some other visits, and then headed back home and made some poppy seed chicken.
Nice.
That was the request. So Wesley went to a piano concert at church, and I was making some poppy seed chicken for the kids, and it was well received. You know, what I make is not always well received. Do you remember those moments?
yes,
with
I
your
do.
Yeah,
mother?
sure.
Oh,
yeah,
I do.
yeah.
Well received last night.
Yeah,
so
and
it's a
again,
win.
chicken lasagna. Thanks, Mom. Appreciate
right.
it. It's so
That's
good.
right.
No, but that's awesome. First question, because I was trying to watch clips of the convention last night. I watched Kill Tony with Jordan Peterson last night. Tried to laugh and relax, but as I'm watching the clips, they are really leaning into Kamala Harris as a woman. And we've talked about this a little before, but I've never heard you constantly throw out the phrase "as a woman." As a woman, I have heard you though, and I think this is more warranted based on what you just said, as a mother of, say, school-aged children. And I think that is becoming more and more of a robust perspective within the Senate and within our national politics. So let's get into what can be done for child care, for raising families, lean into, say, the motherhood thing, and then maybe contrast that to this, like the Hillary Clinton speech. I'll put it that way.
So I mean, let's take that like, let's take that head on first. I mean, even as I ran, people would say consistently, you'll be the first woman ever elected to the U.S. Senate from the great state of Alabama. And I would say, you know what, that's great. I'm certainly not diminishing that, but that's not why I want to be elected. Right. I want to be elected because you take a look at the field and you say, that is the best person to fight for my values and fight for the people of Alabama. That is the best person to advance this cause. That is the best person to work diligently to make something happen. And so, I am on the other end of that, where I never want to be selected for something because I'm a woman. I want to be selected because you believe that I possess the quality, the ingenuity, the drive, the values, the intellect to go and do good things on your behalf. And so anyway, so it's just a very different way to approach these things. And I think we as a nation, truly, no matter what it is, want the best people to serve in any position, in any place. And so, I think that just a stark contrast from what we're seeing from that. When I talk a lot about being a mom and of school-age kids, I think for far too long we've had so many people representing us in DC that are just completely and totally removed from everyday life. Like, I'd like to ask some of them, when's the last time you pushed a grocery cart? When is the last time you filled up your own car with gas? When is the last time that you had a child come home and you start to kind of sort of pull back the curtain on what they're actually being taught, or you listen to them and their friends in the car and you realize the effects of social media on their everyday life. I mean, we know the challenges of that as adults, but I mean, really, this generation is dealing with a whole new set of challenges and circumstances than we were. And so bringing light to that, and really speaking and kind of sort of taking a seat at the table and saying, no, this is what we're dealing with and this is what our kids are dealing with, I think is critically important. We can't stay silent any longer because we're watching the world that we grew up in literally diminish before our eyes. And it is incumbent upon every one of us to get in the arena, whatever your arena is, and everyone's arena is different, to get in the arena and actually do good, actually fight to preserve our country for our children and their children. So, continue to speak directly into that. And one of those things too, I've taken a look and said, what is the perspective that I have that may be different from other people that I serve with? And that one being the only mom of school-age kids, only Republican mom of school-age kids in the entire United States Senate. And there's only 3 of us actually in the whole U.S. Senate. So I do have a unique window and perspective that needs to be spoken directly into. And so childcare is one of those. My husband and I were fortunate to have a little nest egg from his time in playing. When we went back to school, I went back to law school. He went back to get his MBA. We found ourselves there with a newborn and 11-month-old, kind of going, what in the world? And as we started that journey into our professional career after that, childcare, the cost of it was enormous. I mean, I remember writing checks and thinking, I feel like I'm sending them to college, not to daycare. I mean, do you understand?
Yes. Yeah.
And so when we look across the board, obviously, impediments to childcare disproportionately does affect women, but truly both the affordability and the accessibility affects people all across our state and our nation. And we look at our workforce issues and we know that something has to be done, but it has to be a reasonable approach. It has to be a common sense approach. I have colleagues that want to, once again, federalize everything. They want to put it in the mandatory spending bucket, which when we look at the pie chart of what we spend as a nation, and I know your audience knows this well because you speak so directly into this, but we are $35 trillion in debt. When you look at the mandatory spending and versus discretionary spending, it's completely flipped where it was, several decades ago. We now, 72% of what we spend is mandatory spending. Wow. And I have colleagues, and of that, it's like 61% is actual mandatory spending, 12% is actually service on the debt. And you'll know this better than anybody because of the way that you take a look at things and approach it from a research standpoint and kind of knowledge base. But anytime that a nation spends more on their debt than they do on service on their debt than they do on their national defense, it begins a nation in decline. And that is exactly where we are right now. So I have colleagues that actually want us to just pay for everything and that's not sustainable for our nation. It's both fiscally and morally irresponsible. So came together with Tim Kaine everybody knows this, but you have to get 60 votes to pass things
Yep.
in the Senate. And so unless you are in some type of world where you have 60 Republicans, that's, you've got to find partners on the other side of the aisle to work with to actually advance good things. And so Tim Kaine, this is something that he did in Virginia when he was governor of Virginia. He really worked on different childcare issues. So we came together and said, how can we create some common sense solutions? We are proud of the work that's done in this. It has several tiers that's done, but it puts parents back in the driver's seat, not the government.
Love that.
Right? I mean, I don't want to co-parent with the federal government. And so it puts parents back in the driver's seat. It helps with child care workforce issues, trying to create a more sustainable workforce there. It also encourages businesses to get involved, both big businesses, which has always been a thing, but it expands that tax credit to incentivize that for their workers. I'm actually going to Hyundai right after this. We have a lot of different, manufacturers and others that are looking at things like that, but we also added a small business component. And we've talked about this consistently, but I'm the daughter of two small business owners. And so I consistently look at things and say, what is the trickle down effect on Main Street? What does this mean for everyday Americans? And too often small businesses are left out in the cold. And so this allows small businesses to pool their resources up to $600,000 worth of credit, which is huge. So we're incentivizing people, and we're incentivizing, we're creating more opportunity for parents. And then it also has a provision in there too, where you actually can receive money back if you don't meet the tax burden. So it also helps low and lower middle class families, which is really important, because I asked my team, I said, tell me, what does it cost what do you make to qualify for Head Start? When they told me it's, around $26,000, $27,000 a year. I'm like, well, what if you make right over that? Nothing. And so how do we help those people who want to get back on their feet, that want to be working parents, want to provide for their family? How do we give them the opportunity to do that? So I am proud of what we came up with. I think the timing is great. We will be talking about, the Trump tax cuts and how all that plays into effect, and what is sustainable and where do we move. And so we want this to be a part of the conversation. We think it helps it. The lack of childcare or problems with that, or I think it's like $122 billion a year that we lose as a result of that. So it helps bottom line, it helps people get back into the workforce, and ultimately it helps working parents be able to continue to provide for their family and make sure that their children are well taken care of.
Well, and I hope something gets done, because it's become a part of the presidential race, and in particular with J.D. Vance bringing it up. And then the Harris campaign says, oh, we want a $6,000 child tax care credit. Or child care tax credit. So it's...
Do you notice that with her? Wait,
yes.
Everything,
Yes.
like the no tax on tips.
Yes.
I'm sorry. That was Donald J. Trump that said, we want no tax on tips. He talked about it. He said it came up obviously when he was interacting with a waitress and told him, hey, this is like this is a problem and this is what's happening. He immediately came out and said, let's figure out a way to fix this. It's interesting to look at the headline differences from, I'm sure that you all saw that, from very same quote unquote media outlets, which are no longer media outlets. They are propaganda outlets for the liberal left, truly. And they have done a disservice to America, because it creates sows a distrust as to what they're saying, but completely separate. And then you see, and Ted Cruz actually came out with a bill to be able to push that forward, to put that into law. So we're moving on the Republican side of the aisle, and then she comes out and just like this, when she's saying, oh, that's a great idea, let me take that, or let me try to make it better. And she's not even thinking about the implications of the things she's saying, I believe. But this one in particular, she acts like it's her brand new idea.
Oh, yeah. And I was just ranting about it, because she helped advance the bill that gave us all these 88,000 new IRS agents.
Exactly right.
Yes.
And they're all up in my Venmo and my Cash App.
Yes,
I don't want them
are.
to be all up in it.
Yes, they are. She was the deciding vote. Thank you very much.
But
on all of
she
these
also
things.
acts like she's not there today. She can, if she really wanted to do this, she could go see him and say, hey, we get this done today.
And that is to that point. Look at where we are on the border. And she was named the border czar. She, Joe Biden said she's going to fix this. She said we're going to get to the root cause. She did nothing. It was a hard thing, and so she walked away from it. And now she wants a promotion. It really is discouraging on a number of levels, to see what a poor job she has done. And yet the media is just looking to the side, letting her pass on by. She hasn't done an interview in
30 days.
Right.
30 days.
30 days. She's not answering these questions. It really is a disgrace, and the American people shouldn't stand for it.
Do you think this can? It's already tightened back to it's like a coin flip, and I just have a sense that it's like the paper thin movie set that you're gonna. It's like the end of Blazing Saddles. You fly through, and we're in a musical now. Like, what is this? And so I have a feeling that she is not going to hold up, especially with the debate. But even with the debates, I'm glad Trump finally agreed to debate me. It's like it. I'm sorry. I keep saying on this show that Mean Girls is a political documentary, and the Democrats this cycle are.
You are spot on.
yeah.
You nailed it. I mean, you absolutely nailed it. And you're right. We will see this. They'll have, typically speaking, there's a bump after a convention.
Right.
I think we'll, right after Labor Day, kind of sort of see this settle and in a way where we'll know really where we are. But the truth is, y'all, we are right on every single policy issue. And I think given the opportunity to debate those head to head, the American people, that the choice will be very clear. People want a secure border. People do not want the world to be on fire.
Nope.
I mean, let's not forget, Kamala Harris was the one that was bragging about being the last person in the room when Joe Biden made his decision about withdrawing from Afghanistan, which was a disaster in the way in which it was executed. And we just saw a parade with all of our military equipment being paraded through. And she proudly said, I was the last one in the room. I am confident in our decision. Well, her decisions continue to be wrong. And so people don't want a world on fire. They want stability. People want energy independence. I mean, she has specifically said no fracking, no drilling, absolutely not. Look, we all want a sustainable resources, and we believe in that, but we do this cleaner, better, and more efficiently than anywhere across the planet. So why in the world would we outsource this to our greatest adversaries? Because when we don't do it, and you think about natural gas, we have the Saudi Arabia natural gas in Pennsylvania and elsewhere, and yet we're allowing Russia to hold our allies in the palm of their hand. Then you look at oil. And look at what we're doing with Iran. And you want to know how they funded these terrorism? You know why they're on the verge of a nuclear weapon, which changes everything? I mean, where Hamas is getting their money, where Hezbollah is getting their money, where the Houthis are getting their money. And we could do something about it under this administration today. And she's unwilling to speak up and or lead. So I think we have to call her to the mat on that. She talks about prices being up. Prices are up over 20%. Wages are down almost 4%, 3.9%. That is under her, and her policies are left of Joe Biden's.
Yes.
It would be even worse.
No, and of course, being from maybe the weird and wacky libertarian world, I have a lot of different folks on the show, especially on foreign policy, with different perspectives, and I just want to hear people's perspectives.
Yeah.
But in particular, are you shocked that the potential ceasefire deal fell through? I guess that is not happening now. Was it even a good approach in the first place to be pushing for that? And I am genuinely worried about wider war because, as I said to you last time we talked, all these mixed signals being sent.
So first off, we're still not using the tools that are in our toolbox that are non-military weapons. And I think that is a real disservice to our nation. So I sit on the Senate Banking Committee, and we take a look at international sanctions. We had Janet Yellen in front of us just a few months ago, and this administration refuses to use the tools that they need to actually place the pressure on Iran to dry them up financially. That's step one. That's what I don't understand how you're done. Exactly. And the words that we're using and how we're saying truly has undermined Israel's position in being able to negotiate. I mean, people have lost track of the fact that we are 20, it's over 300 days into hostage.
Yeah. American hostages.
American hostages. Y'all, and listen, when you look at that, and there has been said there are 8 American hostages, there are 5 American hostages. Look, one American hostage is one that you should go in and you should go after. We're the United States of America. People should not be able to take our citizens and hold them hostage for leverage over things. Look, I believe in our men and women in uniform, and we don't ever want to put boots on the ground unless it is absolutely necessary. But you cannot tell me that we could not go in and get those individuals and get them out. And I don't understand not only this administration not thinking through how do we get American citizens back and being vocal about that, saying, I want our citizens back.
Right.
Because when you don't behave like that, you encourage other people to do this same thing. It's just like when we had the hostage deal, several months ago, and we exchanged hostage for prisoner for hostage, and then we gave them $6 billion on top of it. I mean, this is not strength, folks.
Right.
And so I believe in peace through strength, and this administration continues to fail to exhibit that. So I'm not surprised, Joey, that anything that this administration doesn't hold water, because nobody has respect for them. And as I've traveled around intentionally, trying to sit in front of world leaders and sit across from people like MBS, sit across from people like MBZ, things I thought that I would never do. I want to hear, I want to know, I want to understand what they believe our relationship to be and what our reputation around the world is. And on the broad spectrum of national and world leaders that I've met with, respect for the United States of America has diminished at every turn under Joe Biden. And that's how we are where we are today. And I just think, once again, it's really despicable that we have hostages. And here at the DNC, when they talk about ceasefire, there is a larger roar in the crowd than when they talk about getting hostages home. And American hostages should certainly be a greater priority for this administration.
Well, and I'm definitely, the more I look at geopolitics, I try to look at it pragmatically with an underlying bias to not having war, because I think hundreds of thousands dead probably in Ukraine and that whole thing, and a lot of people dead in the Middle East, of course. So I'd imagine, though, if you say kept the boot on the neck of Iran with the sanctions like they were going on, and there are a lot of the Abraham Accords looked really hopeful, that strength allows you to not even have the war question on the table.
Correct. And see, if you continue that is exactly right. That's what you have to. Nobody wants boots on the ground, and certainly nobody wants innocent life to be lost. Right. And if you think about the way that Hamas started this war, it wasn't terrorist to military combatant. It was terrorist to innocent women and children and babies and grandmothers. I mean, absolutely beyond comprehension. And so you've got to take a look at every tool in your toolbox. And to your point, putting the boot on the neck of Iran and knowing that they are the head of the snake, and making sure that we are using every tool in our toolbox, that we are not allowing, we are enforcing sanctions, and then we're not allowing China and other adversaries to circumvent the sanctions that we do have in place, which is what they're allowing to happen right now. That we are thinking about things that we can do here at home, like energy independence, like energy dominance, that makes Russia less of a force, that makes Iran less of a force. I mean, there are a multitude of things we can do. You can continue the work that was done under the Trump administration on the Abraham Accords, because that is working. You look at Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has said, look, we would like to have a sense of normalcy here in the Middle East, and we are willing to come together and figure out how we have those types of relations with Israel and others. And that would be a big get. And if you look back to October 7th, there was a lot of conversation about that normalization occurring. And many people believe that, one of the many factors in what happened there was people trying to break up the progress that was
getting
being
too close
made
to peace.
And one way
Happens
for
every
folks
time.
interested in the Abraham Accords, Jared Kushner did a sit down with Lex Friedman. The first hour and a half was before October 7th. He brought him back because within days, October 7th happened. So it's a 4-hour conversation. And Kushner being a principal in a lot of those negotiations, it's eye-opening, and it's a brilliant idea they came up with. And the fact that was blown up because of the Biden administration looking the other way.
And
It's crazy.
think about that was under Donald Trump. All of these people say we're so fearful about what's no new wars started under Donald Trump. That's one of the things I love, because people understood that he peace through strength.
Right.
And he was willing to say, hey, here's the deal and here's my red line. I specifically asked Defense Secretary Austin when he was in front of us when we were talking about a possible national security supplemental, and this was the Appropriations Committee. And my question to him was, does Iran know where our red line is? And I'm not asking you to tell me in this public space. It may be above clearance that I even have. I'm just saying, do we have one? Do they know? Because they have attacked our troops now, y'all, over 200 times.
And continue to do so.
Our troops. So if that's not the red line,
What
what
is?
is the red line? And then when Joe Biden got up and said, hey, no, this obviously happened in that disastrous debate for him. But when he got up and said, not one serviceman or woman has died under my watch, did you forget the 13
Right.
fallen in Afghanistan? Did you forget those people who, we had 2 Navy SEALs and 3 soldiers there and that died in the 3 soldiers in one of these attacks.
Yep.
And the media never held him accountable for that. But I do think we can't say it enough. No new wars under Donald Trump. You look at where we are with Russia and Ukraine, look at where we are with Israel and the Middle East, and you look at China. Guys, China, when Xi Jinping came to San Francisco, and they cleaned up the street. Does everyone
painted it
remember
red?
that?
Oh,
Do
yeah.
you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. And they kind of skipped through the garden together. He said it's not an if, but a when I take Taiwan. Well, what does Joe Biden do? Joe Biden doesn't go and invest more in our military. The investment he made when he put forth his budget was actually a cut to our military spending. And guys, because it didn't keep up with inflation. If we want to talk about cutting spending across the board, let's get into that conversation. That's not what he did. He cut Homeland Security and he cut defense. He increased EPA 19% and 20% in the last 2 budgets that he's put out. So he wasn't willing. We look at our naval fleets compared to theirs. I'm sure you've seen these numbers, Joel.
Oh, yeah.
285 or 290 to their 385. And then by 2030, we're going to be back at, 290 because we're going down and then coming back up. They'll be at
They're still
435.
growing up.
So the deterrence aspect of it, this administration isn't willing to invest in that either.
Well, and I think there even needs to be a conversation about what we're investing in. Maybe it's much smaller, cheaper vessels that are, say, autonomous. They can be underwater and everywhere. Especially with what's been going on in Ukraine, the drone technology's changed the face of warfare. We're running out of time, though. And I don't want to forget that there are, let's say, advantages, benefits being on the Appropriations Committee.
Yeah.
And I know you've been working hard bringing money back to the state where things are needed, in particular here in Montgomery.
That's right.
So kind of lay out for folks who don't know real quick, what's been done here in Montgomery.
Yes. So one of the things, having a seat on the Appropriations Committee, that's the 28% of discretionary spending. Of the 28% of discretionary spending, there's about a 1% set aside for members to fight for priorities within their state.
Okay.
Now, if I don't ask for that money, I want to be really clear. That money that doesn't mean that you're going to get a tax refund. And if you were, then let's definitely talk about that.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it won't go to pay down the treasury. It won't go to, it's not,
It's going to be spent.
it's going to be spent.
One way or the other.
It is a set aside that will be, and so if I don't ask for it, that means Nancy
Somebody else is gonna
Pelosi
get it.
gets more for her sand mouse. That means that, Chuck Schumer gets more for who knows what. It means other people's priorities are taken care of. And I said when I ran, I'm going to fight for our values and fight for our people. And so getting in that room and trying to figure out all across the state, how can we help people in every corner of Alabama and what will make the biggest significant impact has been important to me. And so here in Montgomery, obviously we are blessed with the Baptist health system that we have, Baptist East and Baptist South. We also have Jackson Hospital, and it's been documented that there have been some struggles there. And so took a look and said, how can we help? How can we help create a sustainable model here for the people of Montgomery? So was really proud to bring, money back, about $6 million for that for Jackson Hospital. So excited about that. Obviously money for our airport as well. We know that that is an economic engine, and we've had more and more people visit Montgomery. We want this to be the airport of choice. It'll be helpful for everyone around. So some, needed investments and improvements there to the runway. So did something last time. This time also Alabama State, we've invested in some safety mechanisms there on campus, knowing how important that is. And speaking of safety, and one thing I hope to do for here in Montgomery, working with local officials, but we were able to bring some Crime Stopper, some safety money back to Birmingham, working on it for Dothan. It's critical infrastructure with cameras and other high-tech technology to be able to really, hone in and stop so much of what is happening there. I'm hopeful that at some point that's something that that this community would want to be a part
great.
of as well, because we certainly need it.
Yep. Well, I appreciate your time, really do, and
Yes.
great to see you.
Yes, it's so
And,
good to see you.
Yeah, let's keep in touch, talking through about, especially through this campaign, because I just have a feeling it's going to get crazier.
Hey, we
crazier.
will, and we also got up several a lot of stuff for Maxwell
Oh,
and
yeah,
Corps
nice.
of Engineers and a bunch of stuff like that. So I'm taking a look at this community and saying, what are the needs and how can we help? And it is an honor to serve everyone here and serve this great state. And I look forward to coming back on. We've got about 8 political lifetimes between now and the November
Yeah.
election. So let's keep talking. But we need President Trump, his policies. We need a Republican Senate. We need a Republican House. We've got to get this country back on track.
100%.
And I look forward to being a part of it.
Appreciate it, Katie.
Thank you, Katie.
Again, United States Senator Katie Britt. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Russian sources say that Ukrainian forces have either destroyed or damaged all 3 of the bridges over the same river in western Russia as Kyiv's incursion into western Russia enters a 3rd week. Kyiv's incursion into Russia's Kursk is changing the trajectory of the war and boosting morale among Ukraine's war-weary population. Meanwhile, a massive fire burning for a 3rd consecutive day elsewhere in western Russia after an oil depot was hit by Ukrainian drones. Hurricane Ernesto, now headed for the open Atlantic, expected to weaken and become a post-tropical cyclone and then dissipate. Rip currents attributed to Ernesto are being blamed for the deaths of at least 3 people. On Wall Street, the Dow dropping 6 points and the NASDAQ composite off 22. This is SRN News.
Americans now have more credit card debt than at any time in history, owing a staggering $1.3 trillion collectively. What happens when most people can't pay their bills? Well, the U.S. economy is clearly moving into uncertain territory. That's why more Christians are turning to gold just for their peace of mind. I'm Lance Wallnow, Christian news analyst with a 30-year track record of predicting trends. The Bible tells us that gold is a time-tested store of value that can protect your God-given assets through almost anything, including America's historic debt bubble. And here's the good news. You can own gold through your 401k or IRA. My friends at Birch Gold Group can help you buy gold for your retirement account, tax-free and penalty-free. To learn more, text the word FAITH to 989898 for an info kit from Birch Gold that's entirely free, zero cost or obligation. Text that next step right now and take it. Text FAITH to the number 989898 for your free info kit. That's FAITH to 989898.
The Rich Thomas Weather Network, brought to you by Alabama Wholesale Lumber. Alabama Wholesale Lumber, serving the river region with the best quality building materials for decades. Contractor to do-it-yourselfer. Call Alabama Wholesale Lumber.
Rich Thomas Weather. Well, hi, everybody. I don't know if I would call it a fall preview, but it's certainly going to be more bearable and some very comfortable nights ahead. Today's high of 93 is still very warm, but less humid. Clear and comfortably cool tonight. Boy, I love hearing that. Overnight low 65. We'll be in the lower 90s each day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, probably Sunday as well, with sunny days and clear nights. Dry through Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
We're redesigning financial freedom at CB&S Bank. Make purchases at participating stores and restaurants using your CB&S Bank debit card through your mobile devices with Mobile Wallet. Charges and fees may apply for your cellular service provider. Contact your service provider for more information. Member FDIC.
1819 News.
The state of Alabama has agreed to not expand a new state law on voting rights until after the November election. The new state law expands the list of felonies that would remove a person's right to vote. The law goes into effect officially on October 1st. However, the Alabama Attorney General's office now says the enforcement of the new law cannot take place within 6 months of a general election, according to the Alabama Constitution. The statement from the AG's office comes after a group filed a lawsuit in Montgomery to ensure that the new law cannot block some people from voting in 2024, and that this fact would be communicated to both voters and those who are working the polls in the November elections. Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall says the state law will be vigorously enforced in all future elections. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
I'm Amy Beth Shaver with Alabama Unfiltered Radio, and when I need the news and I need it fast, I turn to Andrea Tice and the Daily Detail. On my way in, it is the most convenient, best way for me to digest what's going on so that I can use it for our show. She tells you what's going on in Alabama that day first and fast. So listen to the Daily Detail with Andrea Tice. Don't miss out.
The Daily Detail is available wherever podcasts are found.
A missing Spanish Fort teenager was found on Monday after being missing since Saturday. 14-year-old Twyla Tarvin was found near a shed on Huckleberry Drive. Tarvin was treated for lack of fluids after being reunited with her mother. Tarvin is diagnosed on the autism spectrum and is nonverbal. Apparently, the teenage girl heard her mother's voice within the search efforts, and that prompted the girl to come out of hiding. 2 men were arrested in Bullock County near the correctional facility there. 24-year-old Xavion Truss and 20-year-old Terrence Green are now being charged with promoting prison contraband. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number 1 in the number 2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
The Tierce family has been your local Roto-Rooter service since 1964. Drain cleaning, plumbing repair, and those troublesome septic tanks, no problem. Technology has changed a bit in the last 54 years. Video inspections of lines to locate problems is available, as well as scheduling your appointment online. River Region residents have trusted Roto-Rooter for over half a century. You can too. Call today at 272-7130 or visit online at rotorooteralabama.com.
Call Roto-Rooter, that's the name, and ain't no troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
I'm Wes Allen, Secretary of State. In Alabama, election integrity is a top priority. We must ensure fair, secure, and transparent elections. To vote in Alabama, state law requires voters to present a valid form of photo identification. For a complete list of acceptable identification, or to learn more about acquiring a free photo voter ID, visit alabamavotes.gov.
This message is presented by Alabama Secretary of State Wes Allen.
And so when folks know that there's a way out and that somebody else has gone through exactly what they experienced and found a way out, man, that's powerful.
Colonel John Kilpatrick runs Vets Recover. It's an organization that helps veterans with the trauma that only other veterans can understand. Listen to What's Working Saturday noon or find us online at whatsworkingcam.com.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Sorry, folks. Sometimes there are technical difficulties with the computer. Welcome into the final hour of the program. Appreciate Senator Brett stopping by. Appreciate Attorney General Marshall calling in. Appreciate Judge Napolitano being on. But now I was telling Eddie, it's just you and me, big guy, for the next hour.
I just got a text. I'll be back in about 45 to 55 minutes.
Yeah? We going to take care of that business we were talking about?
Yeah, the ice cream.
Yeah, the ice cream
truck go by.
So, a little bit of a palate cleanser from all the politics. Say, you've run many a small business, and like the pizza shop in particular, I'm sure you had a lot of employees.
No, but okay.
You wish you had a lot of employees.
Well, we learned our lesson, to be very honest. We did have a lot to begin with.
Okay.
But with all the employees you had, the efficiency was not there.
Right, they wouldn't be consistent. They wouldn't show up. It also, payroll's the most expensive part of a small business like that.
Yes, sir.
So, but can you imagine, since you've been a boss before with employees, that your employee says, I didn't show up to work because a cat fell on my head and then a dog with shoes tried to do me justice?
I would call that employee Adam Lanier. He's a friend of mine to this day. He worked for us at the pizza place, and he used to call with imaginary things like that.
Oh, but this isn't imaginary.
What?
This is a real video. I'm not even sure where this is. I think it's in Asia somewhere. So watch along with me, Eddie. So you can see that guy walking there in the white jacket? Watch what happens. Cat falls right on his head.
Where did that come from?
Takes him out. I don't know where the cat was. That cat is up high because it was coming down with some force. Let's see it again. Boom! Boom!
he's
And
out.
takes him out.
He's out.
And then watch what happens. The dog with shoes tries to do the man who was hit by the cat some justice. See, the dog's coming up seeing that the guy's not good. And now he sees the cat. And there's a dog trying to do some justice. Take on that cat.
That cat's an evil bastard.
And for some reason, the dog has shoes.
Yeah, I don't get the shoes either, but...
What is that cat? Is a killer, man.
Dude.
That must have been a 20-foot drop.
It had to be. And that dude's
Easily,
out.
because
He's
that's
out.
speed.
And everybody else just kept walking like that's an everyday occurrence.
And you know that cat didn't just hit it. It probably got the claws.
We had to hold on to him and ride him down.
Right.
Ride him down into the ground.
Gracious, man.
Ow.
But yeah, that is a stuff that you would never believe actually happened. And I don't think that's AI or CGI.
No,
or
I don't
anything
think
like
so.
that. And the fact that the golden retriever, a very good boy, is trying to do some justice is a good thing.
Who owned the golden retriever with the shoes?
I'm wondering, is it his? Because you can see it sort of walking ahead of him.
Obviously, the dude's in no hurry.
And then, boom!
Kind of shuffling along there.
So that just cracked me up. I was like, stuff you never thought you'd see. Got a cat falling from trees and cats and dogs just fighting each other in the streets. Where is this world going? Well, it's probably not in a good place.
You've seen the monkeys, like when you go to Taiwan and stuff, the monkeys will just come take the stuff right from you. Like you sit there you get a picture of them like it's all cute, and all of a sudden they steal whatever they got in your hand. And you better not take it back. They'll just beat the crap out of you.
Now, we continue to be sharing Victor Davis Hanson, and his article out today is what we were just talking about with Senator Brett. Most folks in conservative land on the right are talking about this.
Right.
It's called The Myriad Projections of the 2024 Campaign.
Okay.
The Myriad Projections. So Victor Davis Hanson writes, projection is a Freudian psychological term. It describes a particular defensive mechanism when people, often unconsciously, attribute their own, usually undesirable behaviors to others who do not have them. So, I mean, we all do it.
Yeah.
Like, you tend to see in the other person what you don't like about yourself. That's just a truism. Maybe it's actually literally true. These mental gymnastics are intended to alleviate one's own guilt or sense of inadequacy at the expense of another. Sound familiar? But in the political sphere, projection involves more overt dissimulation. It is increasingly common for leftist candidates or political parties to falsely accuse their opponents of the very destructive behaviors and unpopular agendas that they themselves embrace, but out of political necessity must deny. Rather than an unconscious Freudian defense mechanism, political projection is usually a conscious strategy of hiding one's own negatives by fobbing them off on antagonists. Projection often proves a quite successful ploy. After all, the political projectionist knows best his own hazardous or off-putting conduct and policies, and so he can most skillfully attribute these liabilities to those who have had no experience with them. So what is Victor Davis Hanson talking about? How is the left doing this? Well, he says the 2024 Harris-Walz campaign is turning out to be projectionist to the core. How? First, Kamala Harris and her new running mate, Governor Tim Walz, have long advanced fringe leftist political agendas. Her everyone needs to be woke, and his claim that riots happen because society doesn't prioritize equity and inclusion. They have been loud in their fringe cultural commentaries, which are not just unpopular, but roundly rejected by the majority of the electorate. And they know that if they become open and honest about what they have done, they will likely be defeated. Second, on a more personal level, both are attacking the behavior and conduct of their rivals as a way of deflecting attention from their own weaknesses on that score. Thus, this kind of projection about both policy and personal behavior is more common on the left because its ideology is fundamentally far more distant from the views of most voters. A few examples reveal that 2024 is turning out to be the most projectionist campaign in memory, and logically so, because the Democratic Harris-Walz ticket is unappealingly left-wing and thus vulnerable. Harris is now barnstorming the country, repeating many times per day a teleprompted narrative that she sought to close the border and stop illegal immigration. Donald Trump, she claims, did just the opposite and is thus weak on the border. This idea of an open borders Trump pitted against a secure borders Harris is a classic big lie, if not utterly unhinged and surreal. You can say a lot about Donald Trump, but I would think even his opponents go, yeah, he's tough on the border. He wanted to build the wall.
Right. He's toughest so far, right?
So unless you've hooked your brain into MSNBC or CNN or whatever, and you're just taking whatever Harris is saying, it's like, yeah, Trump is weak on the border. He didn't pass that bipartisan thing. He didn't support that thing.
He did.
Yeah, but it's just like, if you've been paying attention at all for the last 8 years, you know Trump's tough on the border.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's what they screamed at him about.
I was going to say, didn't they give him grief from the get-go?
Right. It's just, as Victor Davis Hanson said, unhinged and surreal. As a senator in 2017 to 2020, Harris repeatedly fought President Trump's secure border efforts.
Mm-hmm.
Trump battled for a secure border against the likes of Harris, whose record was the most left-wing in the Senate.
Period.
The administrative state, anonymous moles within his own administration, DNC spawned lawsuits in liberal justices, all fighting Trump on this. All of them battled to keep the border open and the inflow of illegal aliens as large as possible, given that they felt subsidizing a huge illegal alien population would create loyal voters in the new era of poorly audited early and mail-in balloting. By the way, big story out of Georgia today, big victory by the Georgia Election Board. We'll get to that.
Oh.
And you know it's a big victory because the New York Times is screaming about it. But they all battled Trump. Innate to the new hard left Democratic Party is a globalist ideology that regards borders as anachronisms. They're so passé. Thus, anyone should be allowed to travel and reside in any country he pleases, while deserving state support to accomplish such migrations. Those agendas were why the entire leftist consortium tried to halt Trump's efforts to build a wall. They embraced catch and release and allowed illegal aliens to claim refugee status once inside the United States. They fought Trump tooth and nail when he tried to beef up ICE and other border security agencies. Harris went to absurd lengths in her open borders agenda. She bizarrely even blasted the public at Christmas time for daring to say Merry Christmas, when she alleged young foreign nationals here illegally could not enjoy such holidays. When she called for reforming border security, she said of ICE, and we need to probably think about starting from scratch. Harris accused the Border Patrol falsely of whipping Haitian illegal aliens and compared them to the enforcers of slavery and the KKK. As a California Attorney General, Harris championed sanctuary cities and the state's nullification of federal immigration laws. She and Tim Walz both supported giving free health care to foreigners who arrive illegally in the United States. Harris claimed that illegal entry into the U.S. was not a criminal offense.
Although it's called illegal entry.
Most notoriously, Harris was part and parcel of the Biden-Harris-Alejandro Mayorkas administration that destroyed the border and allowed a record 10 million illegal aliens to enter the U.S. freely and without vetting. So why is Harris projecting her own politics onto the border hawk Trump, falsely claiming that he opposed bipartisan comprehensive border reform, a tired euphemism for the failed election-era gimmick of legitimizing the unimpeded entrance of millions more illegal aliens? Because Harris knows that, of all the unpopular Biden-Harris initiatives, the wide-open border and accompanying unchecked influxes of unvetted illegal aliens have proved the most unpopular.
Yep.
And Harris knows that she supported this nihilist policy and that she will again embrace it after the election in her remaining 3 months as vice president and if elected president for another 4 years. But for the next 80 days, Harris will lie in utterly cynical fashion that she is with the voters on enforced borders and regulated immigration and against Trump, the supposed open border liberal. Note that Harris is still vice president and apparently remains border czar for the next 5 months. Thus, she could stop all illegal immigration right now.
Yep.
And even if not elected president, she could ensure its end through November until January 20th, 2025. In the personal domain, Tim Walz and his supporters are now alleging that his opponent, J.D. Vance, is not a true veteran of the Iraq War because he was mostly assigned to a non-combat unit. Walz and company are projecting in this absurd fashion because Walz himself has lied that he served in a combat zone and implied he was deployed to either Iraq or Afghanistan or both when he, in fact, left the National Guard before it was deployed to a combat theater. On yet another occasion, he claimed to have carried weapons, quote-unquote, in war when he had never been in a combat theater his entire life. He also falsely claimed to have retired as a command sergeant major when he instead demonstrably held a lower rank. As a way of hiding these untruths, Walz projects lies onto Vance. But anyone knows who has been in Iraq during a war, and especially during the surge, whether it's a journalist embedded with the ground troops or an official military-arranged helicopter and plane visits to outlying American bases and troop installations, Iraq was a combat zone everywhere. There are no traditional fronts and no safe areas. Troops got killed inside the supposedly safe green zone. They were shot and killed or blown up in Humvees while traveling on allegedly secure roads and in purportedly secure bases. Journalists and bureaucrats alike were killed by IEDs, barrages, and sniper fire anywhere and everywhere. Vance was in such a 24/7 combat environment when he was deployed to Iraq. Classic projection is clear when the soldier who avoided combat deployments projects his guilt, embarrassment, or fear of criticism onto an antagonist who chose the very opposite conduct and behavior. In the year of the projectionist, watch how Harris, who obsessively avoids any live, impromptu, or extempore talk or interview, blasts Trump, who cannot restrain himself from talking publicly to anyone, for supposedly seeking to escape debating her. Watch how she rails against voter IDs with accusations that her opponents want to warp balloting, while she has encouraged massive, unaudited mail-in voting and third-party vote harvesting, along with 10 million new potential illegal voters conveniently entering the U.S. Watch how Harris blasts radical Republicans as she intends, together with a Democratic Congress, to pack the court, go after the filibuster, and admit new states to get on the cheap 4 left-wing senators. Watch Harris scream that the near unprecedented Biden-Harris inflation, which saw staples including food, power, gas, rent, cars, and insurance soar by 20 to 30% during her tenure, was supposedly caused by ex-President Trump, who left office 3 years ago with a 1.2% inflation rate. Watch the projectionist Walz claim that Vance, the author of Hillbilly Elegy, who grew up in an impoverished Appalachia, is actually an elite because he went to law school at Yale, while Walz was a rural Nebraska boy who stayed rural in outlook. In fact, Vance is the first poor white boy presidential or vice presidential candidate since Bill Clinton, who also went to Yale Law School. Ran in 1992, you remember Bill.
Really?
He'll be speaking on the stage at some point this week. Meanwhile, Walz once scoffed not to take the overwhelmingly conservative map of Minnesota too seriously, since there were only, quote-unquote, rocks and cows out there.
Oh.
Watch Walz scream about weird Republicans as he let Minneapolis burn for days in the awful summer of 2020 before calling in the National Guard, as his wife opened their official residence's windows to get an authentic whiff of the revolutionary arson, and his daughter tweeted out assurances to rioters not to worry about being arrested or stopped by the National Guard, given her inside knowledge they would not be sent in. Watch Biden claim that Trump will attack democracy if he loses. This comes from a president who has unleashed lawfare against his opponent, who was removed from his own re-election candidacy by a backroom cabal, and whose mental disabilities have been hidden from the public by the same dark forces who recently forced him out, but only when his polls dived, and he threatened other Democratic candidates. Note Harris is the first modern presidential candidate who has never won a single delegate in a single primary, but was anointed by a fiat of unnamed donors and politicos. The first cousin of projection is the more familiar vice of hypocrisy. Marginally preferable to projection in that here the other side is at least doing what they're accused of. Harris's hypocrisy is stunning and shameless. For example, she has blasted Trump's demand for voter IDs as racist and voter suppression, yet Harris demands the very same sort of photo IDs from all who would attend her rallies.
Yes.
Her logic, apparently, is that verifying the citizenship of voters is not as important as proving you have obtained a ticket to her rally and are not unlawfully seeking to enter her own event. Her message to the public is that the security of American balloting is hardly as important as the security of her own rallies. The second cousin of projection is simply lying about one's real intentions, virtually inevitable for the side with the less popular ideology. Once elected, Vice President Harris felt she could safely push unpopular restrictions on pipelines, existing oil and gas fields, and new federal energy leasing to please her leftist circle and in pursuit of her Green New Deal agendas.
Damn.
Now facing a presidential election and the needs for cheaper gasoline and fracking jobs in swing states, she is pro-fracking and drilling for oil and gas.
No, she's not.
As president, she would inevitably revert to her consistent earlier advocacies, and they range from federal gun confiscation and nullifying, that is snatching, in her own words, private enterprise patents, to controlling not only food prices, but also wages that she deems not meeting her standard of quote-unquote gender equity.
Bragged about it.
At long last, can't we take away the projection, the hypocrisy, and the concealment of one's real positions, not to mention all the past collusion, disinformation, and lawfare, and just let the people decide whether they really want to return to the leftist vision of America as fundamentally flawed, inherently racist, and in desperate need of corrective liberalism? Oh, actually, illiberalism? Can't the left be honest that it wants massive government redistributive action in health, education, and welfare, fueled by enormous government spending increases, more taxes, and more administrative state overseers? And can't the left be honest to Americans about their globalist view that America is only exceptional to the degree that any country believes it is exceptional, but demonstrably not exceptional enough to warrant secure borders, a free market economy, legal-only immigration, a strong deterrent military, and a content of our character, not color of our skin, approach to race? Or to put it another way, if you don't want what the people want, you have to project. Like I said, that was a heavy hitter from Victor Davis Hanson today.
Very true.
272-9228 if you want to hop in on the conversation. But first, this part of the program brought to you by Pest Pro Services. And they're at Pest Pro, Ashley and her team. And I think Ashley's actually going to join us on Friday.
Awesome.
I look forward to seeing her here in the studio.
Every time I see Ashley on Facebook, she's smiling. She's usually in the photo, being the star of the photo. Well, today a realtor friend of mine posted a Facebook photo of them doing some networking today. And Ashley was actually in the background. And she wasn't cheesing. And she even said, uh-oh, you caught me slipping.
No, I always, every time I see her, she's smiling. She's enjoying herself.
She's usually the life of the party. Literally, the party gravitates to her. People want to talk to her. People want to get her opinion on things, especially when it comes to pest control.
Well, and it's not a surprise then that as the owner, as the person who founded Pest Pro, that she's attracted great employees.
Oh, no doubt, Joe.
And customers have learned to trust her in those employees.
Oh, yeah.
Not only because they're good at what they do, they're true professionals. It's because they're local folks. They're your neighbors, and they're always giving back. So when you're paying them, that's going to make its way back into the local community. It's people helping people, literally, at the end of the day. So whether you need a specific job done, like the army worms are destroying your property, or there's a huge wasp nest, or you need termite inspections or treatment done.
Mosquitoes going on, too.
Oh, yeah. They can do mosquito treatments, all right. Eddie knows. Eddie knows well.
Love them.
Or it could be you're just looking for an everyday pest control company that always has your back, that you can trust. That's Pest Pro Services. So you can call them at 265-9990. That's 265-9990. Or go to ppsriverregion.com or just search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces. When you want to know, call a pro. Pest Pro Services. And be sure to tell Ashley And that great team, the Joey and Eddie, those fellas on the radio sent you. Let's go to line 1. You're on there. Who's this?
Yes, I was Skeeter. How you fellas
Hey,
doing?
Skeeter. Doing all right. Skeeter, how you doing?
All right, I followed you back on X. I just got one thing to say. These communists gonna come after my guns. Old boy I work with wears a shirt, and it says, if they want to take mine, they better bring theirs.
Yep. I got a feeling you're going to be all right, Skeeter.
Hey, I like that monologue you just gave, man. That was spot on.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate it. And good to be following each other on the Twitter.
All right. Y'all have a good one.
You too, Skeeter.
Yeah, he followed me. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Skeeter.
So let's hit a break.
All right.
We'll be right back. Again, 334-272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
The summer is winding down, but the sales at Larry Puckett Chevrolet are not. If you have a child headed off to college and they need a good, reliable vehicle that will not have you worrying if they can make it to school, shop Larry Puckett. They have a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles that won't wear out your checkbook. New and pre-owned Larry Puckett's inventory is as big as anyone's in the area. College football season is upon us, and if you don't trust your car to get you to the games, shop Larry Puckett. If you have an extra vehicle that you want to sell, take it to Larry Puckett, allow them to give you a cash offer. New vehicles are arriving daily. Call 285-9300. See if the one you're looking for is on the way. You'll love everything about Larry Puckett Chevrolet: the prices, the selection, the service, the financing, and you'll love your buying experience. For as long as I can remember, Larry Puckett's customers have been doing the talking. Larry Puckett Chevrolet on Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville. Before you stop by, you can shop them online at larrypuckett.com.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
The Health and Wealth Show. The Health and Wealth Show. The show so nice, we said it twice. Weekday evenings at 6 on News Talk 93.1 WACV. The Health...
Break it up, son. Joke's over, hey?
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number 1 in the number 2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Riverside Chevrolet Wetumpka. If it's Chevy, it's Riverside. Best price, best selection. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net.
Rich Thomas Weather.
Well, hi, everybody. I don't know if I would call it a fall preview, but it's certainly going to be more bearable and some very comfortable nights ahead. Today's high of 93 is still very warm, but less humid. Clear and comfortably cool tonight. Boy, I love hearing that. Overnight low 65. We'll be in the lower 90s each day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, probably Sunday as well, with sunny days and clear nights, dry through Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
For the lowest prices around on flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies, Budget Floors and More is your new best friend. Luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, floor installation supplies, and more with prices lower than the big box stores. Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey Publix.
The River Region's News Talk station. News Talk 93.1 WACV. News Talk 93.1.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. What are you smiling about, you dope?
Celine.
Let's go to Susie before Eddie makes me reach across the desk. Hey, Susie, how you doing?
Hey, I'm fine. Yesterday, you had a guest on the radio talking. He called in. I think his name was Charlie, and he was talking about a medication that shrunk a tumor.
Yes, he was.
Okay, could you give me the name of that and spell it for me?
Give me just a second.
Yeah, I think Eddie's got it saved in his web browsing history. I do not remember off the top of my head. I don't want to give you the wrong thing.
I appreciate
Just put her
it.
on hold for just a second. Let me find it, and I can get it to you.
Yeah, just hold
Thank
on,
you.
and Eddie will get it to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I texted Senator Britt that, like,
Oh, you
here's the Tucker interview.
Good deal.
The health of the nation is just, it's shocking. It really is. And the fact that most of this stuff could be solved if we got just our basic food system right and environment right. This is mostly a product of metabolic dysfunction. Yeah, we have the money and the smarts and the people that could do this.
So frustrating.
And of course, I would say American medicine is pretty damn amazing at, like, the out there, like extreme therapies, the surgeries, the big stuff. But in terms of, like, the actual health and well-being of people and preventing it, well. And one part of that interview, Eddie,
Yeah.
you know how during Obamacare they talked about we're going to have outcomes-based medicine?
Yeah, I do remember that, Joey.
Yeah, so it's not about, like, you know, how many pills you're on or how many procedures you had done. It's about the outcome. Are you actually healthy?
Right.
And getting healthier. The pharmaceutical companies and the insurance companies were able to change the definition of outcomes-based medicine. So if you're a doctor getting good outcomes, what does that mean? You've got Joey and Eddie on as many possible prescriptions and procedures.
Yep.
So it's like everything's opposite. We don't mean outcomes-based. We just mean the same thing we've been doing. We'll just call it outcomes-based. It's nuts. And Joe Biden's the one yelling last night, "We beat Big Pharma." No, you didn't. You dope.
Not by no means.
The mouthpieces they fund say otherwise.
Right.
They're all in your camp. You're on the same team. It's obvious. So, yeah, you finding that thing?
No. I do a lot of texting and stuff through the day. Good Lord.
Didn't you search it on the web?
Yeah, but I have a natural delete thing.
Oh, okay then.
Shut up, Joey.
Wow. Have to call up the NSA, no such agency, and be like, what's he actually been up to?
That's the reason I have to have that on there, Joey.
All right, I've been lonely too. 272-9228. Let's try to get in. 334-272-9228. I just don't. I've got to go back to this from yesterday because I can't play the Democrat speeches. I can't play Hillary Clinton. Biden's like an hour-long speech.
Did you make it very far through those speeches, though, when you were trying? I couldn't either.
Other than AOC, because, you know, she's hot.
Okay, I didn't make it very long through hers, but what I took away and what I read about it was she was yelling at people that you better respect VP Harris. To take that out of...
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Okay, so that is what was said, and you did appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm like, well, no, I'm not going to, but you can't keep yelling at me.
I see.
It was like foreplay.
I see. Well, that's what I had heard.
Don't you dare do that thing, so I'm going to do the thing, right?
Right.
Oh, it's just so absurd. But I got to go back to this from yesterday because I want more of this. I want more of the silly and the hyperbolic, the BSing out of Trump.
About 8 years. But she said one thing that got me. She said Kamala has one big advantage. She's a very beautiful woman.
Beautiful woman.
She's a beautiful woman. So I decided to go back and reread the clause. I'm not saying he's, but I say that I am much better looking than her. I think I'm much better.
I love how he yells at here.
I'm a better looking person than Kamala.
He's yelling for the people in the back in case they didn't hear him.
And why did he say her name like Dr. Evil?
I think that has something to do.
I'm a better looking person than Kamala.
Kamala.
I think it has something to do with the folks yelling because someone said her name wrong the other day or last week. And, you know, you don't say her name wrong.
Right. That's just disrespectful.
How? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, but guys do this all the time, or like dads do this. Daughters, what's your boyfriend's name? Josh. No,
Right.
it's John, Dad.
Exactly.
Okay, whatever.
Exactly.
Jerry. Okay.
Exactly.
Like it's a thing.
And dudes do it to each other.
Right. And I just love how we're the party of joy. We're the party of respect. In fact, the Babylon Bee, all the real fake news, their top story right now is choose joy, bellows angry old man. Yep, that's about right.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this is again a headline from the Babylon Bee. DNC dyes Chicago River red to celebrate abortion.
And I saw that, and I had to do a double take there, Joey. I had to look at who that was from, because I literally had to do the old double take.
Yeah, that's the Babylon Bee, baby.
I still couldn't get over yesterday, Chicago being boarded up, but a company called the Chicago Board Company. If you need boarding up, well, they got a company that'll do that for you.
Kamala agrees to 2-hour X Spaces conversation with Elmo. Again, another Babylon Bee.
But I could see that going. I really could see that going.
Oh, goodness gracious. What a crazy time we live in. Because it really is. And I wanted to get into it more with the senator, but like everything is wrong right now.
It's bizarro world, dude.
Like we're going off the rails when 77% of income taxes last month are going to just pay interest on the national debt. When the national debt is now more, the interest on it is now more than the national defense.
Yeah. But let me ask you this.
Goodness gracious.
Who's getting that interest money? I mean, let's say you got a loan for $1,000. And let's say your payment, $70 of it a month goes to interest. Joey, where is that $70 going to? What entity is that going to? If that's just going to pay back us, then I'm less concerned with it because I'm more worried that it's really going back to pay China or somewhere else.
Some of it goes to us, so to speak.
Right.
And then, no, some of it is going to foreign investors that hold U.S. treasuries.
That's where my huge issue is. Why are we doing that? When we could open a pipeline or two tomorrow and get out of that business.
Right. But we won't do it.
You're right.
We won't do it. But hey, you want to hear Peter St. Ange talking about Kamala's price controls?
Yes.
Yeah, let's listen into Peter. Again, this is Prof. St. Ange. Real good guy.
The next time you see an empty shelf at the grocery store, it won't be COVID, it will be Kamala. The Harris campaign just rolled out its first major economic policy after stealing taxes on tips, promising to impose price controls on food like Venezuela. Even the Washington Post wrote, quote, "It's hard to exaggerate how bad this policy is." Why so dumb? Because if companies are losing money, they stop producing, you get shortages. Then you get real gouging from black markets. In fact, American food is today the cheapest in rich countries. Try going out to eat in Europe. And food in America is one of the lowest margin businesses in existence. So grocery stores make about 2 pennies on the dollar. Kroger makes 1.4 cents. Kamala is now angling to break this for a soundbite. Now, we saw this precisely in the 1970s when Richard Nixon imposed price controls on food, rent, and gasoline. The results were empty shelves, especially meat, housing shortages in major cities, and millions of Americans' new hobby became sitting in gas lines for hours, praying they don't run out by the time you get a couple gallons. Nixon ultimately gave up, tail between his legs. Alas, no dumb lesson is ever learned in Washington, and Kamala is raring to go. Like Nixon, Kamala claims inflation has nothing to do with government spending. It's just greedy companies pulling a fast one, ripping off loyal customers, bolstered by, quote, consolidation in industries like meatpacking and grocery stores.
I'm going to pause it there because somebody put together a chart of inflation over the years.
Yeah.
They're like, look at how less greedy corporations got in the 80s when Gordon Gekko was around.
In the 80s.
Yeah, because inflation in the 80s was a lot less than, say, in the 70s.
I got to believe there's a little bit of greed back then, too, Joey. I won't be honest with you.
It's so dumb, but people buy it. Let's keep going, Peter.
In truth, profit margins haven't budged since COVID. My colleague EJ Antoni has a chart recently showing prices have risen lockstep with costs.
Yep.
In other words, if greedy companies are gouging, they are not very good at it. As for consolidation, a favorite of left-wingers, it's manufacturing 101 that bigger batches make cheaper stuff. Economies of scale lower prices. I actually started my career in manufacturing, and a rule of thumb is if you double output, you lower per unit cost by roughly a third. So if you make 100 widgets for $100, you can make twice as many for 140. This is in fact why big companies have an advantage in the first place. So whether you love or hate consolidation, it is not causing inflation, it actually reduces prices. So if stores are making 2% and consolidation is lowering prices, how to explain shocking grocery prices? Simple. They printed $7 trillion in 18 months, almost half of all the dollars in existence pre-COVID.
Yep.
If you print that much, it really doesn't matter your 2% margins, doesn't matter how many mom and pops you cram into a Winn-Dixie, your prices are going up. So what's next? Brought to you by Unchained.com. Politicians will scapegoat every time, no matter how dumb the solution, especially when an economically illiterate media doesn't explain to voters what's actually happening. There is little chance of media improving anytime soon, at least for the 80% of America's news media who's in the tank for Kamala. So expect more stupidity, and if it becomes law, get ready to spend your weekends going store to store for a gallon of milk. A new episode of the podcast just dropped, including step-by-step how to back the dollar with gold. Give it a listen at petersanonge.com. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.
Man, I like that guy.
Me too.
And it's so cool seeing him find big success. Really is cool. So he's right. He's absolutely right. But they're going to keep just saying the things they're going to say.
They're going to keep lying is what you're telling me?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, also, I got this from Peter St. Onge and EJ and Tony, he just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
You know the Bureau of Labor Statistics?
Yeah.
They just casually plan to revise down jobs. So, like, they reported jobs numbers last year. They're going to revise down jobs by roughly 1 million.
Yeah.
They're just openly and massively changing the number. No big deal. We're off by 1 million jobs. Really? This is what we're dealing with?
So instead of openly saying we lied for the last, how long? Year? We're just going to change it and hope you don't notice? Think ChatGPT will notice?
No, it's going to tell us that the new number was always the number.
Someone didn't believe me this morning when I told them about your ChatGPT experience you showed.
Yeah.
So they went and did it. They called me a few minutes later, freaking out.
Yeah.
Because they thought this was the future. This was
Oh,
like
really?
our
And that's
robot.
it's just that right winger malcontent Joey. No.
Well, actually, honestly, by me telling her who did that with me, it gave it some credential.
Oh, okay.
And then she said, well,
That insightful young man.
Yeah, she said,
who seems to have
I'll see.
neurosis problems, though.
Well, she had some other things to say, but they were mostly positive about me.
That he's lonely for a reason?
They were about me. The negative stuff was definitely about you.
Okay. Hey, another great news, and I'm reading from CNN on purpose because they're freaking out. The corporate press is freaking out about this. But the headline is GOP-controlled election board in Georgia passes rule that could further delay certification.
Really?
Yeah.
What, are they going to actually count them?
So the Georgia State Election Board passed a rule Monday giving local election officials additional power to investigate ballot counts before certifying the results.
There's an idea.
A move critics say could inject chaos
and honesty
into the 2024 election and delay the state's official vote count. The rule for reconciliation prior to certification will allow a hand recount of votes to ensure the total number of ballots cast does not exceed the total number of persons who voted.
I think, what is wrong with that? Why is
County
that not common
election
sense in there
officials
anyway?
will now be allowed to investigate any possible discrepancies.
So you couldn't even investigate before?
Yeah. They're not happy about it, but that means that's a big win.
You just make it that much harder for some people to cheat, Joey. They don't appreciate this. We'll still find a way, but...
Did you see also the World Economic Forum just put out a opinion piece for global risk to look out for in the post-pandemic era? One in particular
Yeah.
is an era of shock events. A new global extremism emerges with the world distracted with multiple major wars and leadership in decline. This could be an opportunistic time for a new extremist group to make its mark and maybe not face as many consequences. Perhaps it will even leverage AI tools to kick off a new phase of terrorism.
I feel like that happens every day. Every day there's a new crisis.
AI terrorism.
They know the back door to everything. They got the keys to the back door, buddy.
We got to hit this break. But first, as part of the program, brought to you by, again, Josh and Leslie Ryder. They're at Dylan Rings.
Yes, sir.
Great folks. And I'm looking at Instagram, Dylan Rings' Instagram page.
The gram?
Yeah, it's DYLAN Rings, Dylan Rings. And this is hot off of Josh's bench.
Oh.
Like his work bench.
Yeah.
These pair of 7/8 carat diamond, 7 to 8 carat diamond lever back earrings for only just shy of $2,000. Wow, look, I'm just a little
They're
shocked.
beautiful.
By
I seen them earlier. They are gorgeous.
You can come in this week, folks, and mention you saw these on Instagram, or maybe mention you heard Joey talking about on the radio, and you can take 25% off them.
Really?
Okay, that's a nice chunk of change right there. Yeah. So it's $1,999 normally. You mention that you saw these earrings on Instagram, or I'd imagine say, hey, Joey was talking about it, and I went and looked at it. There's only one pair, though, so you better hurry. It's a secret sale. And these things are absolutely gorgeous.
They are gorgeous.
Wow, I'm zooming in on it. That's cool. That's really cool. See, and this is just an example of some of the work that Josh Ryder can do over there. The man, as we said earlier, is a true artist. So check him out today. And if you're interested in those earrings, if you're interested in that secret sale, get by there. They're at 119 Brown Springs Road right here in Montgomery. Or again, you can always go to Instagram, Facebook, or DylanRings.com. But I, again, really encourage you to go by 119 Brown Springs Road. It's just off of Atlanta Highway, kind of where the old fun zone used to be, around that AUM area of Atlanta Highway and Taylor Road. And be sure to tell them that Joey and Eddie, those fellas on the radio, sent you. We'll be right back.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Looking for insurance, or maybe you're just not satisfied with your current carrier? How does quality coverage with local service and competitive rates sound to you? The folks at Stark Agency offer just that. Whether you need insurance for your business, car, home, or life, Stark Agency can help. As an independent insurance agency with over 20 of the top insurance carriers, Stark is sure to find the perfect match for you and your loved ones. Visit their site at starkagency.com or give them a call at 334-263-5535 for a quote today.
This is James Cole with Cole Plumbing, and I want to thank Blue Water Broadcasting. I have been advertising with them for several years, and they have brought me quality business. I really appreciate them.
Blue Water Broadcasting is the #1 most listened to radio group in the River region. Find out how to put this reach to work for your business. Call us to find out how we can help. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
Epicure and Jack's Tavern in the heart of the old Fantail building promises a dining experience where quality meets comfort with daily specials, a full wine selection, and the freshest ingredients. They're here to serve you the best of local cuisine. Join them and let's make every meal memorable.
Unwind at Epicure and Jack's Tavern for their happy hour every Tuesday through Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. Enjoy special prices on drinks in a cozy setting, whether it's catching up with friends or relaxing after work. Make your happy hours happier with Epicure and Jack's Tavern. Break the chains and eat local.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is #1 in the #2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Live local talk. The River Region's only 24-hour News Talk FM station. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Final moments here of the program. And as is tradition, let's go to Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. How you doing, Ray?
Good. Just over here laughing about Mama's car. that she never drives the thing. It's what, a 2016? It just turned 30,000 miles.
Nice.
And I try to buy it. Every now and then I call Mom and say, "Mom, can I go get you a new car?"
Yeah.
We really, it's a 2016. And she's like, "If you come out here and touch my car, I'm cutting you out of the wheel." So, yes, ma'am, you keep the car.
Smart man.
She ain't playing.
And she knows what she likes.
She knows what she likes. She knows where all the buttons are.
Yep.
She's used to it. Yeah. I
totally get that.
Totally get it. She'll
Yep.
be 95, still driving that 2016 car.
Nice.
Oh, but you got to love Mama. Hey, let's talk about the sale we got going on.
All right.
We don't know what to call it yet. The Pet and Fear sale. You're not going to be able to get these prices again when this thing goes away, because this is a brand new display they came out with. They're really pushing it. They give this really, really hot buy on it. So if you're in the market for any kind of pet-proof flooring, if it's carpet, if it's laminate, vinyl plank, call us today at 285-8117. We'll come out and give you that free measurement.
Wow, it's just that simple, folks. That's daggone. Well,
proof carpet.
It just don't get easier than that.
That's pretty awesome. So 285-8117, folks. That's the number. And be sure to tell them that you heard Ray here on the radio with Joey and Eddie.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
See you, Ray.
Hey, Ray. Man, they're always doing sales over there, Prattville Carpet.
He's always laying rug, man.
Always laying rug?
Always laying rug.
Well, or all sorts of flooring options.
Oh,
They
yeah.
really do.
So
So
I've seen the hardwood. I've seen the ceramics they do. It's amazing.
did we learn anything today?
It's good to see Katie.
It is good to see Katie.
Glad I wore my fancy Crocs.
Yeah,
She
and your-
appreciated that.
And your shirt. She did mention you were all dressed up.
Yeah, she knows. Yeah, she knows.
She knows what, Eddie?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, son.
What does she know?
She knows she has a fan in me.
Yes.
How about we'll go with
well
that?
said. That's wholesome and wonderful. I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
No, it was good seeing her.
It was.
Good talking to the attorney
It was
general.
great talking to Steve.
Yeah, and it seems this Montgomery area crime suppression unit is working.
I'm glad to see that. If nothing else, I'm glad to know it's out there. I want other people to find it to be comforting that it's there, because a lot of people don't feel like they're getting law enforcement. So seeing the results, that's pretty good.
That is pretty good. And Steve Marshall just told us direct. Hal Taylor, Leah really initiated this, and then everybody else was definitely on board. Like, yeah, let's get this done. Sheriff's Department, county folks in the county commission, Darrell Bailey, and got MPD on board. It's a good thing.
It was good to
it's
hear
going.
about the bust in Selma. I didn't realize, with the illegal gambling operation, they busted 6 of them.
I know.
And I guess it's just hard for me to picture that in my mind, but I know they exist. I know they exist for many reasons, but it's hard for me to picture.
Wholesome reasons again?
Well, yeah, it's just hard for me to picture someone having that establishment thinking, what's going to happen? But I didn't know it was just a misdemeanor.
So it's the price of doing business.
Right, with the misdemeanor factor?
Right.
Ah.
Well, and we learned, don't say that the Azov Battalion is a bunch of neo-Nazis. That got Judge Napolitano censor on YouTube. We'll see if we're big enough to even have something like
Jeez,
that.
Joey.
Which is nuts.
That is nuts.
Absolutely crazy.
But there's no pushback. That's what I don't. What are you going to do?
No, what are you going to do?
It's like when you go to the gas pump and the man tells you, hey, today it's $3.30 a gallon. What are you going to do?
Mhm.
You still got to get the gas.
Mm-hmm. And they got you by the...
Oh, they do. Oh, they do.
Well, on that disturbing note, we got to get out of here.
All right.
Happy Hour with Greg Budell and Rosie. They're next.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center.